the Communication Authority of Kenya did come out and say, oh, sijui fungeni according to article what. Let me read for you what those articles are all about, by the way. I have them right here with me, and I want you to know that indeed what they had cited na siku ubaya, in my opinion, that was ni venye siwezi tumia maneno mabaya, but that was neither here nor there. And this is what they were talking about. So they were talking about Article 34, and this is what that particular article provides for the media. The state shall not exercise control of, not to give the CA carte blanche to censor. Now, the CA should be helping us actually to avoid political control. So just because you've received a phone call from, say, State House, or from a minister somewhere, or from a PS somewhere, or from a member of parliament somewhere telling you zima radio generation because wanaongea mbaya juu ya my constituency, ama wanaongea mbaya juu yangu, that's not the reason you should shut us down.
Okay, what do you expect?
Yeah? What we're trying to say is
Communications Authority of Kenya.
Communications Authority
of
their work is to give licenses.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you who regulates us. To be honest, if we're being honest about regulation, about even censorship on air, yes,
yeah,
that is the MCK, Media Council of Kenya. Hao ndio wanaweza kuja watuambie kidogo jana kwa news reporting yenu kuna kitu mlifanya, ama kuna vitu mlisema, ama kuna watu mlihost, ama kwa mnafaa kuhost, ama kuna kitu mlionyeshana, ama kuonyeshana. And mind you, MCK has been quiet through this entire process. Yes. So kama MCK hawana shida.
Well, I like it that I like it that the Law Society of Kenya yesterday secured a conservatory orders suspending the directive. That directive that was initially issued by Communications Authority of Kenya. Na watu wakaambiwa warudi on air.
Ndio. And this is what actually that law says. This is what the statute allows.
Yes.
Yeah. And by they have to follow due process. The Kenya Information and Communications Act lets the Communications Authority suspend or revoke a broadcasting license after notice. After what?
After notice.
Notice. Take notice of that word notice. A hearing and written reasons for breaches of licensing conditions or the program code, e.g. hate speech, incitement to violence, have got to be provided. So you just can't come and switch off a radio station or a TV station for that matter without notice. And you have got to have a very good reason. Court provided reason for you to shut that station down.
Yeah,
yes.
That is what basically happened, and I think kufikia hapo, I know it will just be a battle of the agencies.
Not really, because here's what Honorable Justice E.C. Mwita said. Hata nishikilie gazeti vizuri ndio nisome vizuri. Munisikie. I'm going to just read a very small portion of this. Now, this matter coming up for directions on the notice of motion and petition, both dated 25th June 2025, before Honorable Justice E.C. Mwita, and upon considering the pleadings, I am satisfied that they raise fundamental constitutional questions touching on potential violation of the Bill of Rights in the Constitution and freedom of the media, calling for intervention by this court. It is hereby ordered, now this is what the judge ordered, that pleadings be served immediately through emails due to the urgency of the matter. Number 2, that the respondents and interested parties do file and serve responses to the application and petition within 3 days after service. And number 3, that the petitioners will have 3 days after service to file a rejoinder if need be. Number 3, that directions on 2nd July, 2nd July 2025, so this is something that will happen sometime next week, and that a conservatory order is hereby issued suspending with immediate effect the directive referenced number CACEBC TV 90A or any other directive issued by Communications Authority of Kenya to all TV and radio stations, directing them to stop live coverage of the demos of 25th June 2025 or any other demonstrations until the hearing and determination of the application and petition. Of course, there's much more that was said.
Yeah.
Na tunajua signals za NTV zilizimwa, za KTN na za K24 zilizimwa. Judge Mwita amesema hizo vitu ziwashwe with immediate effect, and I think ziliashwa.
They were
yes.
Hapo tu jana.
Now, of course, Standard Media said that they would sue any of the carriers of their signal that would switch them off. And this is what they said, that we will sue any signal carrier who switches our channels off air without any explanation that can stand the scrutiny of the law, justice, fairness, and reason. Ndio ukaange ukijua, you just don't wake up
and again
and switch off the video.
You need to understand if some of these radio stations had businesses on air. Kuna biashara za watu zimekuwa on air.
Lost revenue.
So that is why I'm telling you, I think it's not going to stop at that. Bado kutakuwa na issues huko mbele. Tunangoja tuone, because most of these TV stations, of course, they had businesses on air.
Commercials. And some of those commercials are very expensive, eh?
So some of the actions as people do, they really need to follow the Sharia vile inafaa. Anyway, there was also the issue of the people who were killed and those who were injured and those who were arrested.
Yes.
Here we are talking of 9 people who were killed, but I'm telling you, this is not the number. The number should be more.
Do you have a different number?
This will not be the number.
Do you have a verified source?
Well, it's not that much verified, but I'm telling you, this is not the number. You know, most of the time, even last year, after whatever we thought was the number, later on we came to realize that it wasn't. That was not the number. So,
according to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, 8 people were killed. According to KNCHR, 8 were killed, and over 400 injured.
Yes.
And a couple more missing.
Yes.
60
so arrested.
So that is the official figure that we can personally, that I will go with as of now until they update it. Otherwise, because to be honest, mimi sina my own sources za kutafuta watu walipotea.
Well, that's why I'm saying this is what we are going with for now.
Yes.
But we know. Because of course, between that time and now, we have had a lot of things that were happening even at night. You remember? Actually, yesterday I told you from my area, a lot was happening at night. I even wondered. Till late in the night, ungesikia tu gunshots all over. So unajiuliza, okay, what was happening? And then we are waking up in the morning and we are finding, hey, huku kuna kaadze, what really happened? So maybe tutakuwa tunaangalia the numbers, and even the ones that maybe were injured, maybe tutapata pengine number ni tofauti. So
there's this whole issue by the of Ongata Rongai. Anyone from Ongata Rongai, tafadhali tuambie what exactly happened last night. We have heard that there were a couple of gunshots. So we'd like to, obviously, we'll verify that information in terms of who was shooting who and where were they being shot. Yes. So there is that issue as well that we need to discuss. Ongata Rongai, kama kuna mtu ananisikiza kutoka Rongai, and I'm sure there is, please let us know on our social media pages what exactly transpired there so that we can get this conversation going. Our X account is Radio Gen KE. That is at Radio Gen KE. You can find us right there. Let's get this conversation going.
The looting and the destruction?
Oh yeah, that only so. Ketia supermarket Nyeri naona walivamia vibaya sana, wakaiba vitu kule ndani. And other premises just within, like there was the Ola inaitwa pale, iko pale DT Dobi, the same industrial area. That supermarket within the Ola petrol station was vandalized. People got in there, made away with some stuff.
Kawangware the same. We are also looking at the sides of Kikuyu. There's also something that happened in Kikuyu. We saw some house that was tortured.
Okay. So
torched, sorry.
Yeah, torched, yes. There was so much happened yesterday.
Yes.
Even in the CBD, we saw that the previous night people were welding their shops, the doors to their shops and the windows to their shops, literally welding them. Zile za after maandamano ndio tutakuja tena tuanze kutafuta venye tutaingia kwa duka zetu. Let's not forget that State House was barricaded. Yes. Parliament also walieka wire mesh.
Wanaeka razor wire.
And I like this caption here on the front. When the Standard has said that, you know, the people were met with razor wire, armored trucks, and the cold grip of repression. The People's House, which is Parliament, was barricaded like a Nazi concentration camp, a grotesque symbol of a government retreating from its citizens. And you remember me, I said this, when we were having this conversation from even last week. Mimi nikasema I'd like to see our leaders there in yesterday's commemoration, which unfortunately ended up being a protest and turned very chaotic. I said that I would have loved, and we saw, of course, CS Murkomen. He came out there. Hapo nitampatia tick. We also saw a couple of police officers, high-ranking police officers. They came out to greet people.
Yeah,
I'm very happy about that.
We've seen the OCSs of different places like in Kisii.
Tuliona walitokea. Yes. Walitokea wakatembea na wananchi hata wa Meru.
Yes, even I saw the one for Meru. Hata walipatia soda na maji.
There's a police boss huko Meru. Alitembea na wananchi. Walizunguka Meru town yote.
Yeah.
And he was working with them to let them know that, look, as long as I'm with you, the police will not attack you. And that was a testament too. And we have seen that it can work. Now we can benchmark with Meru. OCS, I'm not sure whether it's the OCS, but najua alikuanga police boss fulani. Alitembea na wananchi. And there's no way you will shoot at your police boss. That was, for me, that was a very beautiful moment.
There's no way you're going to throw tear gas on
at your police boss. Na akatembea na wao. And he was alone, by the way. I'm sure there were maybe some plainclothes police officers with him, just to in case things go south.
Yeah.
But the point is, he was there with them, and because of that, people that is now renewed confidence. You see, mimi hata watu wa Meru wakakosa kufanya maandamano mengine. For me, that one I would tell them, by the way, you guys, kudos and relax.
Basically, that is also what we wanted for Nairobi.
Yes.
But I'm just wondering, Nairobi, tuseme the OCS Central Police angetoka atembe na wao.
Angetembea toka.
Tuseme angetoka Shaurmoyo. Tuseme this police stations that are near town. I mean, not even near town, just almost all the police stations within Nairobi. Yes. Wote wangekuja pale wakitembea na Wakenya. Do you think Nairobi ingewak?
Ingewak. Si tuliona, nimekwambia, I saw people opening the road for KDF officers. Those are peace-loving Kenyans. Those are patriotic Kenyans. And had we seen, OCS wa Kasarani, for example, akitembea na watu, the only reason OCS atatembea na nyinyi ni kama pia yeye, forget even wakati wa maandamano, even during kawaida times, he's not the best.
He doesn't live well with you people.
Yes, that is the only. Yule OCS wa Meru alitembea nao wa Kenya wenzake. Huyo ni askari ambaye anaelewa kazi yake na anaishi na Wakenya vizuri. Yule mwingine Kisii mwenye alirushiwa mawe na guns na watu wakakuja wakamsaidia, they shielded this guy. They even gave him first aid. And they safely took him back to the station. Those are peace-loving Kenyans, and that is definitely a good police officer. Yeah. So me, what I saw yesterday, for me, as far as from those specific cops, that was amazing. Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, David Maraga met the people, and for me, they nasema good job.
But now let me ask you, Kenyans were complaining that these leaders just came out in the morning, just a few minutes, and they left.
Let me tell you something.
It doesn't matter. At least they showed that solidarity.
No, mtu mwenye ako na akili, and I'm not saying that watu ni wajinga, but mtu mwenye ako na akili zake atajua ya kwamba Kalonzo is an easy target. And even Fanya Mambo here said he is a target. He was told by a police officer, boss,
usiende.
Wewe ni target. Kukumaliza ni rahisi sana. Hapa utakula stray bullet, ndio watu wataandamana, but Fanya Mambo ameenda. Unaona? And we need such kinds of brains. The brains that Fanya Mambo exuded here in studio yesterday. We need the brains of Kalonzo Musyoka. We need the brains of David Maraga. We need the brains of Eugene Wamalwa. People who are, talking sense to the people, and talking about and calling out the government when they are expected to, right? So Kalonzo showing up for a few minutes and then disappearing, that is tactical.
That is
it is tactical, because
and it is enough.
Because mkimaliza pale conversations zita change in this country. Let's just be honest. Kuna watu, by the way, ukiguza, we do not have a country anymore. You understand?
Yeah.
So I am happy for what
walitokezea
Kalonzo, Maraga, Eugene Wamalwa and the other leaders, even Murkomen kutokezea pale kwa streets for those few minutes, kusalimia wananchi. For me, that one is a tick in my book.
Did you see Matiang'i anywhere?
I didn't see Matiang'i anywhere. I did not see former DP Rigathi anywhere.
Rigathi Gachagua anywhere.
I hope they will address the nation and let us know why.
But of course, the former DP says that his life is usually in danger. So of course, he cannot just appear anywhere, just like that.
He has told us that before. But anyway, I want us to take this break. Then when we return, of course, we shall be having a conversation with our guest. If you've not seen who that is, kindly check out our social media pages. We shall be back shortly with that conversation and much, much more.
It's 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. The High Court in Nairobi on Wednesday suspended a directive by the Communications Authority of Kenya that barred media houses from broadcasting live coverage of ongoing protests. Justice Chachamwita issued the conservatory order following a petition filed by the Law Society of Kenya. LSK argued that the CA directive was unconstitutional and a threat to the freedom guaranteed under the Bill of Rights. The Communications Authority of Kenya had earlier directed all televisions and radio broadcasters to cease airing the Gen Z-led protests taking place across the country on June 25, 2025, citing a national security and public order concerns. The Law Society of Kenya has filed an urgent petition in the High Court demanding the immediate production of activist Ndiangui Kinyagia, who was allegedly abducted by masked men believed to be plainclothes police officers in Kino. The petition seeks to compel senior government and law enforcement officials to produce Kinyagia, who has not been seen or heard from June 21st, 2025. The family reported the incident at Kino police station, but they say they have received no updates of his whereabouts or condition.
My son, his phone is always on. And then hata namfuataga sana hata kwa Twitter. Nikaona hata his Twitters, they were off. Zile zilikuwa ni zile alikuwa ameweka the other day. So I knew something was very wrong. So nikipigia marafiki wake hakuna mtu anajua pahali yuko. Hey, that's when we found what happened, the drama. And those people, the neighbors, they didn't have my number. So they didn't know who to contact, anybody.
President William Ruto has appealed to protesters across the country to uphold peace and act within the law, warning that destruction and violence threaten the very nation they claim to defend. Speaking in Kilifi County during the burial of Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro's father on Wednesday, Ruto acknowledged the right to protest but stressed that no cause should justify the destruction of property or disturbance of public order.
Hata wale wako na maoni tofauti, hata wakati wa maandamano, pia tuhakikishe ya kwamba maandamano yale yasiwe ya fujo, yasiwe ya kuharibu mali, yasiwe ya kuharibu amani katika taifa letu la Kenya, kwa sababu hatuna taifa lingine ambalo tutahamia mambo yakiharibika hapa. Sisi taifa letu la Kenya ndio hili, na ni nafasi yetu na ni wajibu wetu kuhakikisha ya kwamba tunalinda amani ya taifa letu la Kenya.
His remarks came as the Gen Z-led protests swept across multiple towns, marking 1 year since the deadly June 25th, 2024 demonstrations against the finance bill. At least 8 people were killed and more than 400 others injured during the June 25, 2025 nationwide demonstrations, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has revealed. According to KNCHR, all 8 fatalities were caused by gunshot wounds and occurred across 6 counties, including Nairobi, Machakos, Makueni, Nakuru, Kiambu, Uasin Gishu, Nyandarua, and others. The protest, which marked the first anniversary of Gen Z movement, saw heavy police presence and was staged in at least 23 counties. In its report, the commission noted that alongside the fatalities, at least 400 people sustained injuries, including protesters, police officers, and journalists. NATO leaders have agreed to ramp up defense spending to 5% of their country's economic output by 2035, following months of pressure from Donald Trump. The U.S. president described the decision taken at the summit in Hague as a big win for Europe and Western civilization. In a joint statement, members said they were united against profound security challenges, singling out the long-term threat posed by Russia and terrorism.
In a very historic milestone this week, the NATO allies committed to dramatically increase their defense spending to that 5% of GDP, something that no one really thought possible. And they said, "You did it, sir, you did it." Well, I don't know if I did it, but I think I did. This will be known as the Hague Defense Commitment, which is pretty good, pretty appropriate. When the allies reach this number, it will add more than $1 trillion a year. But it's a monumental win for the United States because we were carrying much more than our fair share.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor!
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed, we are the home of hard truths and bold insights. The time right now is 6 minutes past 7 o'clock. A very good morning to you, wherever you are. We hope you are safe. We hope that yesterday wasn't as bad as we saw in the streets of Nairobi for you. And we do pray and hope that anyone who was affected by yesterday's proceedings, yesterday's mandamano, that you shall be able to recover from this. Of course, we know that people lost their lives for sure. Poleni tana sana, condolences to those families, friends, and of course colleagues of everyone who lost their life yesterday. This morning on Radio Generation Kenya, we want to focus on what happened yesterday, and would like to talk about that from even a financial perspective, just to speak about what these mandamanos cause Kenya economically and how we are able to navigate that, how we are able to recover from that. My name is Mungala Mbuvi. A very good morning to you.
Good morning. My name is Triciah, Wayua, and of course, this is the People's Breakfast. This is where you get all the truth and even all bold insights. And remember, you can follow us on our social media pages. That is at Radio Gen KE. That is on Instagram, on X, and even on TikTok. Just follow us there. Just follow what is happening here. Even on Facebook at Radio Generation Kenya, you can follow us there. Those of you who are listening at their neighbor's place, please, when you go back to your house, it is 88.8. That is here in Nairobi. Kuna mtu anasikiza Radio Generation kwa gari.
Anashanga sasa hiyo ni station gani?
Yes.
It's 88.8
yes.
in Nairobi, 90.7 in Mombasa. But I can assure you, as long as you have an internet connection, rgk.co.ke, you'll see us live and direct, and also on YouTube, by the way. That is Radio Generation Kenya. Tuko pale na tuko mbashara, for lack of a better word. This morning we do have a guest. We've told you that he's going to be coming in this particular hour and the next hour, and our conversation today is going to be around reclaiming fiscal discipline in counties. He is a public finance expert, seasoned in the industry, but as we look at the counties, we want also to look at the expense and the cost actually of doing maandamano. Every single time there's a riot in Kenya, a political one to be specific, what is the cost? So Mr. Andrew Kubo Mlawasi, very good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Yeah. Just a brief introduction. Maybe you can just let the public know what exactly you do as far as economics or finance is concerned.
All right, thank you. Like you've mentioned, my name is Andrew Kubo Mlawasi. I've been in the public finance business for the last 15 years or so. I was fortunate enough to be the pioneers of the people who came in after the promulgation. We went to the counties, we started the counties. The first budgets, the first county integrated development plans were the people behind that.
Yeah.
So I've been in the finance business from 2013 in the counties all the way to 2023 when I decided now it is time for me to venture out, be a consultant on matters public finance and taxation.
All right.
So that is what I do for a living. Yes.
Nice, interesting. You've mentioned quite the CV there, that you were there when we incepted this whole issue of county finance business, more or less, and you were there when the constitution actually gave birth to that process.
Yes.
Wow.
Before the 2013, I worked for the national government, what now is called as the National Drought Management Authority. Then when the opportunity came, and I think counties didn't have the personnel per se, people with experience, people with just an understanding of how governments work. So the Transition Authority gave us that opportunity, and for me, I looked at it as this is new. Why not be a pioneer? So when I got into the counties, I remember everyone wanted to be the waziri,
the CECs.
The CECs. Mine was, I took a different trajectory because no one really wanted to work with the county assemblies. Back then we saw them as councillors. No one really wanted to touch the councillors. So I took a shot at it. I went to the county assembly of Taita Taveta County.
Okay.
I, together with some other people, we actually developed the finance department there.
Okay.
We set it up from ground.
Specifically for Taveta or now for the entire country?
For Taita Taveta now.
Okay. Wait, are you saying that you were an MCA?
No.
Because you said you went to the assembly, the county assembly.
Yes. Yeah. The county assemblies do have the technical people, just like the National Assembly has.
Okay.
Yes. So
all right.
I was involved in setting up the finance department. Then that's when the Transition Authority did everything for the counties. By the time we're getting there, we were given a budget. By the time we're getting there, we're given a CADP. So you see, no one really understood what was happening. So when we started coming up with setting up the finance department, then there's that realization that yes, we have a budget, but who really understands what is contained in this budget? So I had the opportunity again to say, what, the finance is the normal, everyone can do. Every other accountant can do that.
Yes.
I was more passionate about how do we do these policies, the fiscal policies. How do we come up with the budget? So I initiated the process of now coming up with a budget department within the county assembly.
Okay.
The role was very simple. The governor brings the budget to the county assembly because the mandate of passing a budget lies squarely with the county assembly. Now, the MCAs then did not have the technical capability of comprehending what was in the budget. So my work was to disseminate that.
Basically cut it down for them, make it easier for them to chew
and swallow. And then mostly just to try and see if the budgets are in line with the PFMA. So
PFMA?
That is the Public Finance Act. Sorry,
okay.
Finance Act 2012. So that was my work. And I guess in life, when you do something over and over, you become more of an expert.
And that's why I called you an expert at the very beginning. There's something I just want to get out of the way. Yeah.
Yes.
We're having these issues with county revenue allocation, and there's a lot of drama.
Exactly.
And it's like it happens every single year, and it's been there now for a decade plus.
13 years.
13 years. Why are we having because I believe you're saying that you helped lay the framework.
Yes.
So we can understand why Nairobi gets this much, why Mandera gets this much, and Wajir and so on.
Yeah.
Why 13 years later we are still in the mud?
We have the wrong people for the job.
Oh, it's that simple. The framework is working. The people for the job will be Kidogo Malenge.
Two things are happening.
Yes.
We have the wrong people for the job. And when I say the wrong people for the job, let's look at the governors. The dream or the envision we had for the constitution and even having these devolved units was to get a manager as a governor, not a politician. Unfortunately, that is the truth. So that is our first problem. Our second problem is we have laws, and I'll tell you, we have super laws. We have the Public Finance Act, we have the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, we have the Constitution of Kenya, we have regulations, but all these are just used as, how do I put it, formalities. So our laws are formalities. I'll say this. We recently saw a list of counties, the bottom 10 counties, and unfortunately Nairobi County was the last one in allocating development funds. Then you ask yourself why. But this thing is captured, well, clearly stated and articulated in the Public Finance Management Act. So why are we not following this simple law? So those are our two problems: the wrong people for the job, and laws which are formalities.
Unfortunately, you said we shouldn't be having politicians in office as far as managing county funds are concerned.
Exactly.
But the process of getting these people into power is political. You have to come and explain to me why you need to be the governor of Nairobi for me to elect you as the governor of Nairobi. And that process is very political. I align with a particular party. Political party.
Yes.
I align with the values of that particular party and maybe the values of that particular individual even before the party.
Yes.
There's a problem there then, because the loudest mouth in politics gets the cake.
Takes the day.
Exactly.
Don't you think it's time we actually did go back to the drawing board and looked at that constitution and looked at what do we really want from the counties?
Okay.
If we do that, we will eventually get the right people in the job.
Okay.
For example, and I mean this with a lot of respect, what happens to most of the deputy governors?
We don't even know. We don't even get to know them.
There's this notion that is always put out there that, for lack of a better term, they are flower girls or beige boys. So why all this? But like I said, I think it's time as a nation we need to go back to the drawing board and let's open up the constitution. Let's look at how these counties are structured and now ask ourselves these pertinent questions. And that's why I will tell you why are counties not allocating at least 30% of budgets for development. Okay. Yet it is a requirement by the law. And we have people in office who came with a manifesto that I will do this. Yes. I will build so many hospitals. I will,
Actually, Triciah was just reading something, I think it was last week. And part of what she read was that some counties have allocated as little as 7%.
Yes.
6% even in some counties to development. Yet you're telling us that in law, at the very least, it should be 30%.
So now maybe we should ask this question, or we need to look at it. Which school did you go to understand at least, that it is very clear, at least 30%, at least. Yeah. So are you looking at it from down
going up?
Yes, are you looking up, coming down? Yes.
Yeah. But so, that is usually a question that has always been challenging, even in class. That at least. So it could be challenging our leaders.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a question, because it is quite clear. That is section 107(2)(b). It clearly states, for any financial year, a county should allocate at least. So the least you can allocate is 30%.
All right, so let me throw Aspire into the works, and then I'll allow Wayua to ask you the other question. What if I'm the governor of this county?
Yes.
And I honestly feel like this 30%, as far as development is concerned, is not as critical as the fact that I need to allocate more funds to maybe security. Maybe I need to allocate more funds to healthcare. And therefore, I might need to eat into this 30% of development. Is that allowed, or is that still a no-no?
It is a no-no. Because
no matter what,
the crafters of
the law,
and also how the constitution was done, it is very interesting. The think tanks, the people who sat down and thought about how counties will be done and what have you, were technocrats. People like me and you. We have a speciality in what we do.
Right.
But who are the implementers?
The politicians.
Exactly. So you see, that disconnect in terms of the crafters are different, but the people who are now mandated, yes, with the responsibility of executing are politicians. So what do you expect? A politician is driven by his urge or his urge to stay in office. That's simple. So I will tell you, a conundrum, it is absurd to see an MCA will come and buy sufurias, for example, for a community and tents, and yet this same
water tanks.
But this same community, they have a dispensary that is lacking a simple facility like the toilet. The toilet is not there. So, let's ask ourselves this question.
Well, I have a question about the whole issue of budgets at the county level.
Yes.
But I'm going to refer to the national level budgets.
Okay.
Because at the national level, like when you're doing the county allocation, funds allocation, there is a committee. And when you are doing the budgeting for the country, there is surely a committee.
Yes.
And in that committee, there are experts.
Yes.
I'm looking at finance experts that sit on those committees, that decide on the expenditure and the rest.
Yes.
First of all, I tend to believe that is where now things start going wrong. Actually, starting from the national. Because first of all, I'll ask you a question, like in terms of the allocation that we saw just the other day.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody was complaining, like this is what the MPs wanted, this is what the senators wanted. First of all, what is the work of these the financial experts in those committees?
Financial experts like myself, ours is to put the policy. A budget is more or less like a policy that will push us through the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Simplest term. So ours is just to look at the priorities. And I'll tell you, this year we can collect so much as our own revenue. We have so many debts. And this is what is required, say in education, in health. So as the technocrat, mine is to do the actual planning. Say this and this and this. But the work of the technocrat ends there. This document, who passes this document?
Is a problem.
You get? It goes to the National Assembly. It goes to the county assemblies. These are the people charged with the mandate. And within Parliament, they have a parliamentary budget office that does the same work. Analyze, look at everything. Is everything in order? Yes, that is their work. And eventually they give it to the people who are mandated, the people we elected, because that is their mandate, to approve budgets. Now, there's always a clause there that says approved with or without amendments. So a technocrat have done, and it's always about consultation. It's not a one-man show. It is a group, like you've said, it's a group of technocrats from economists to accountants to people dealing with the respective departments. All these brains are put together. They formulate that particular budget. Once you're done, and we can always do it, we can never get it 100%. That's so probably we've done it say 80%. It is good. Take it to where? Take it to the National Assembly, take it to the County Assembly.
Okay.
Now, these are the people now who have the authority or the mandate to pass this budget with or without amendments.
Oh, so they have the option of saying, okay, Mulawasi told us that we need to give 3 million, for example, to the roads.
Yes.
But sisi kama county assembly, tunaona barabara ziko tu sawa. Let's give this money to water.
Yes.
So they have that.
Yes.
Okay.
That is where, for me, if you ask me from experience, why give them that? If the technical people, the experts have done it, why again do you go and sit there and say, no, I think this one, no, this one we can do this. And
so they more or less politicize that process.
Exactly.
Well, I would like to know by the actually, because we've had a problem with the allocation that was done, and especially on education. Just the other day, we have been discussing that, and actually even yesterday we did some statistics. We've broken that down even to the amount that is entitled to a child, to a single child. We saw
1 shilling and 50 cents.
Is it Yeah, for education. So I'm like for the setting up of the budget that we've seen.
Yes.
Do we have people who go and criticize, like, maybe this is what we suggested that you people do, and then you guys metoa? For example, like your education, I'm so much concerned about it.
Well, the constitution is very clear. Public participation. What happened is, or what has never happened is, we've never actually quantified the threshold of public participation. Say, for example, you have a constituency that has how many voters?
100,000.
100,000.
Yes.
So public participation should say at least, and I'm back to the word at least, at least 30% of
The
registered voters should give us
Maoni yao.
maoni yao.
So that's 30,000 people. In
That is
that
30,000 people.
Yes.
That would be a threshold, but that thing is not there. So this document, itaekwa kwa mtandao. Give us your opinion.
Okay.
That's normally what happens. I've participated in most of these in the national level, and we just go there as experts, as accountants. We'll say, this is what we feel, that's it. But who is talking on behalf of Mama Mboga? The cobbler, the mtu wa boda, who is talking on their behalf? Because assuming this particular meeting, it is done, say in Nairobi, it is done at Serena Hotel. Mtu wa boda ataingia huko?
Hawezi.
Hata mtu wa Mukuru jima leo Serena iko.
Now let's go down, let's go to the ward level, or let's go to somewhere like Mukuru kwa Njenga, for example. We are doing public participation on the issue of education. Do you really think that person is more concerned about the capitation or looking for 30 bob to buy breakfast?
30 bob to buy breko.
That's it. So you see, the whole process is just,
it's flawed.
It's flawed because we do not have a threshold.
Yeah. So what happens when we were expecting 30,000 people to come and give us their maoni, and then we end up getting 10,000?
They have conducted a public participation,
and that's it, and we
that's
move on.
And if you can remember, and I would like to take us back to the happenings of last year, if you'll allow me, and the whole issue about the finance bill 2024. You could see towards the end there was this rush by MPs going to their constituencies, setting up public participation because it was challenged, if you can remember very well.
Yes.
So one Saturday, everyone was Ushago doing public participation, haraka, taking signatures. We did public participation. Is that the threshold? Threshold, let's look at the attendance. Let's look at the period in which this particular public participation is conducted. You can't say you'll do public participation for, say, 2-3 hours for a budget that will affect the entire nation for the next 12 months.
It's just not enough.
It's just not enough. So I think we really need to rethink the whole process of public participation. We really need to look at it and say, what is the threshold? What is the minimum threshold that is required to say, this one ni ya wananchi? That sort of things. If we can do that, then I'm sure we'll not get it 100%, but we'll have moved a step forward in owning that budget. Because one of the biggest problems we're having as a nation, we are not owning that budget. We're not owning the Finance Act.
Are you blaming the politicians, or are you here and blaming, of course, in quotes?
Yes.
Actually,
or are we blaming the wananchi?
That is the question I wanted to ask you. Who has this responsibility of ensuring that whatever you are saying, there is a threshold to public participation? Who has that ability?
First of all, let's get it. The threshold is not there.
It is not there. Then we need to push for something.
Public participation.
Yeah.
We can go outside here, put a tent. Anyone passing there and tell them we're doing public participation on capitation. Wewe unaona aje, sign hapa. And he goes. He doesn't even have to give me maoni ama atasema iko sawa. Is that really public participation?
No.
So there's no, you see what I'm saying is, we do not have a clear-cut threshold. This is what is required. So it is a process that is just out there. It's like, as long as I have signatures, 10,000 people came.
Yeah.
These are the people who attended, and that's it. So they're in agreement, and we push it. So I will blame us as a nation. We have to go back and rethink about this issue of public participation. We put it in the constitution. It's a good thing.
Yes.
But have we gone back and asked ourselves, what are we achieving? Have we achieved? Now we can look at this constitution from 2010 all the way to 2025. Those are 15 years. What are the gains? I know there are gains. We can't say nothing has been good. But this particular issue of fiscal discipline at the national level, at the county level, it is a thorn in the flesh.
Andrew, I want us to do traffic updates, and then when we're done with that part, let's talk about if the public even understands. By the time you are giving them this bill, or like the finance bill, for example,
yes,
do they even understand what that is? They know fine, it's a law which will determine the budget, but do they even understand what's inside that bill? So shortly to size it, hata usiende mbali.
Thank you.
Traffic.
All right, I'm looking at this road known as Landis Road. Landis Road iko bumper to bumper right now. So if you're planning to go towards Gikombani and coming from whichever side of Nairobi, just know there's traffic there right now. Also going towards Pumani Road, traffic is bumper to bumper there as well. Easy Coach Limited, kama umetoka hapo ama unaelekea hapo, the road is looking good for you. Then there's another road here known as Langata Road. There's a slight traffic kidogo to Langata Road as you're approaching Nyayo National Stadium, but after that you're moving very well into the CBD and beyond. If you're on Mombasa Road rather, and you're coming from where? Mlolongo. Nyinyi watu wa Mlolongo ni kama mtaki kwenda kazini leo because the road is just looking green. Yeah, so this means there's absolutely no traffic. I'm coming from Kitengela right now. Oh yeah, wait. There's a little bit of traffic at Imara Daima. However, that opens up after the General Motors roundabout. And then let's go towards the CBD. A little bit of yellow at Simba Cop, but that's because of a very rough road there. However, nothing to delay you from getting to work. Next Gen Mall, a little bit of traffic there as you're trying to exit onto Bellevue. But beyond that, you guys are moving quite well.
Outer Ring Road, I see things are quite okay. Except just as you get to Osops, pale I'm seeing a little of traffic. Then Thika Road as you come all the way to town, kutoka pale Ngara kuingia town, things are just things are not that good, bumper to bumper. So ukifika pale ujue kwamba kuna traffic all the way from the areas of Umoja, using Jogoo Road, utakuja, you're just okay until you get to around a City Stadium. That is where I'm seeing a little of a snarl up, and of course it's stretching all the way through Muthurwa to town. Yeah, so there's traffic there. Kariakor roundabout, you guys, I see things are not good there. That is all the way from Kariakor to town. Yeah, vitu sio mzuri pale. All the way to Mombasa, watu wa lights Kengeleni kwa sasa hivi pia there is a traffic. Kuna polisi pale. I can see the junction there, a lot of cars and a lot of traders there. Wafanyabiashara wako wengi sana pale hivi, so you need to understand. And again all the way to Likoni crossing channel pale pia Nambiwa ferry zipo 4, everything is quite okay.
All right, anything on the roads you think we should know, please find us on Radio Gen KE, that's on X.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
And we are back. We are with Andrew Kubo. He's a finance expert. And when we started off the conversation, in case you missed it, he said that he was there at the inception of this whole framework that we use to finance counties, and also within the counties, how they finance themselves and how they allocate budgets. Andrew, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kenyans, do they understand the finance bill? Sometimes even I was actually just going through some of the things that were being mentioned from different what are they called, civil society groups.
Yes,
just trying to understand this whole issue. And of course there were some contentious ones that I would say nyapa we need to check hapa kidogo nini. But still I found it very technical, yet I consider myself very learned. So I don't know if I were to give the same document to my grandmother, is it even published in Kiswahili, number one, or another I don't language. Know any other language apart from English? So if I gave my grandmother that same document, or my auntie who is illiterate, she might never get to understand what's going on. I don't know. Is that something we are facing, Ama, that is just happening to me and my family?
I want to tell you, on when was it? On Wednesday, the 24th, I was invited to have a talk with economic students from Kenyatta University. And that same question you're asking me, they did ask me. And these are the Gen Zs. We consider them to have information at their hands.
Exactly.
Because of the phones. And one of the key questions was, I looked through the finance bill before, now it's an act. I looked through the finance bill and all I could see was jargon and sections where it's written deleted. And this was my answer. This is a document. It's a public document written in what's legal lingo. That's it. So, and legal lingo is not for everyone.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the truth. Even that particular finance bill or finance act, the way it is structured, the how it is put, we were colonized and we adopted some of these things. So we have to use that lawyer language in a document that is meant for Mwananchi.
Yeah.
So you see, there's a problem right there.
Yes.
Do we get simpler versions? Now that's when some of us come in. You're tasked with the responsibility of breaking it down, interpreting it, and just simplifying it. Now we have a big problem because let's also agree. If we look at the behavioral science of anyone, I have my own bias. So as you expect me to interpret that document for you, I will interpret it with my own bias.
Yeah.
I am affiliated to a certain
profession.
I'm affiliated to a certain political party. So I would translate it based on what I want to achieve. So what does that happen? As I translate it and disseminate it, I'm trying to sway the thinking of the people in a certain way. So our plea is very simple. Simplify this document. Simplify it to the point that Mama Mboga can just sit and read and say, nimeambiwa housing levy, for example, the issue of housing levy. Jargon put in there, surely, honestly, all honesty. So for me, I'll tell you, these are some of the things that we really need to go back to the drawing board and say, because I started by saying public participation, very key. How can you do public participation in a document that is written in language that people cannot comprehend, cannot understand? That is where it begins. So if we have a document for the parliament that will be passed by the parliamentarians that uses that language, and I believe, and I stand to be corrected, most of the people in that parliament do not even understand the language used in that document. And I'm saying this in even the MCAs, I'll tell you, I've been with them. They do not understand. Ashikanishi. Akikuja, all those in favor say aye.
Oh.
So you see, even the process of adopting this document.
Yeah.
So to answer you, my apologies, I've used so many words.
No, it's okay.
Unfortunately, it is not achieving its intended purpose.
All right.
Because it is not framed in a way that will suit the common mwananchi. Give it simple. If it is, we're talking about VAT, just tell us, VAT, tunaona itakuwa 16%. That's it. And it affects fuel, it affects, simplified.
Yes.
For someone to comprehend. And then when now they're giving their opinion, they'll be able to say, apana sisi tunaona hii 16% kwa mafuta, especially inatukwaza. Kwa hivyo, tuondoe hii na hii, tupunguze hivi na hivi. Simplified. But now, when you look at that document, and I was, we were discussing with the students because they were really interested in understanding this document. I asked them, and I hope you've just, you don't even need to read, just look at it. When you look at VAT, zero rated, all those items, they're always at the back of that document. There's something called a schedule. So now, schedule ni uko nyuma, they know you won't read.
Kama appendix.
And I was asking someone, when you're reading a book, do you go to the references and see who's...
I mean, surely, who has got time to look at, like a thesis?
Yes.
You'd go over 200 plus references.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why put things that matter to mwananchi uko nyuma? Hapa unamchanganya na lugha,
Ndiye achoke aachane nayo.
Akishachoka, ataenda huko nyuma angalie what is affected, what is zero rated.
Then in that case, let me ask you, Andrew.
Yes.
Last year, Kenyans rejected the finance bill in its totality.
Yes.
Even a comma wakutaka kwa hiyo kitu.
Yes.
And you know, we've seen that even after that, a few things here and there have been, you know, implemented and enacted and so on and so forth. First of all, is that legal? I know you're not a legal profession, but number one, is that legal? And number two, does it mean that that finance bill in its totality as it was rejected by Gen Z was actually a bad finance bill?
And also to add on, just tell us, is it true that those parts
Sections
were removed or it was adopted again in its totality?
There are many ways of killing a cat.
Okay.
When you reject a bill, it is not to say it is entirely bad.
Yeah.
There are certain sections that are bad. So what do you do with the bill? Because it brought this outcry by the public and you know, we know the happenings of last year. The president had the voice of the people and said, you know what, yes, let's put it aside and let's rethink the whole process. But you know, people need to understand, what does a finance bill or finance act do? It gives the government the power to collect taxes
And spend them.
spend. So by suspending it, what it means, we have to go back and use the previous year's finance act. So that means even the current year budget has to be aligned with
The last year one.
So you see, there are a lot of technicalities. Like I said, there are many ways of killing a cat. So what do? Take this entire document, which was the contentious one. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
So atutoi, we look for another way. Uko nyuma.
Yeah, that is why I was asking, because we saw some leaders saying you refused the budget, but you refused that bill, but bado tulirudi tukafa.
You know the beauty about the finance act, you know, it is a sum total of so many other bills. VAT, you know, we have a VAT act on its own.
Yes,
we have excise duty on its own. You know, we have all these acts, all these money bills that are all now come to tie to one, the finance act. So if you refuse this particular finance act, what will I do? I just go to the VAT and amend the VAT, and we are done. That's why I say there are many ways to kill a cat.
Yeah.
So you might refuse this one. Hii ni mbaya. Okay, nitarudi tu kando. Where's the VAT bill? Bring it. Can you amend this? Now you see the VAT bill. Does it have the public outcry? No one even knows there's a bill like a VAT act. Sorry, do you know it is there? So many people do not understand that. So as we are centered on the finance act, we reject it. It's okay. There's no problem. Let's go back to there's a VAT act. There's an excise duty act. Tutadil na hiyo.
So what you're basically saying is that Rex Masai died for nothing. And the other Kenyans that lost their lives abducted and tortured. In very many words. Okay,
they stood for what they believed in. These I look at these young men and women as modern day martyrs. If we were to look at it from that point of view, because who's a martyr? Someone who's willing to die for something they believe in. And that is where I get the feeling of the Gen Z. You know, they feel they are not being heard, and for in all honesty, these are learned people. They do not have jobs. We expect these people to earn a living from TikTok, you know, these social media platforms. Then again, you go and tax them. So at the end of the day, where do you want this person to honestly go? Or what, you know, I wish we would be giving them an alternative.
Right.
We cannot all go into border. And I appreciate the border. It is an essential service now, the border industry. So do we expect our learned an engineer who has done 6 years in campus to go and do a border? Why can't we have our graduates, engineers, being tasked with, say, fixing, some of these roads that we see?
Yeah. There's a point I want to take you back.
Yes.
And it is back to the beginning of this conversation when we were doing the introduction. And you said that it is experts such as yourself who sit down with the legislators.
Yes.
Come up with these policies that, and the laws that we are currently experiencing.
Yes.
When such kinds of experts are sitting down and they decide to, do the whole fuel levy, housing levy thing, nini hizo vitu zote tunaonanga tukipewa kwa sheria. Do they sit there thinking of the actual good of the public, or they come up with these laws? Because I wouldn't expect someone like yourself to be in a room whereby munatengeneza sheria ambazo zitanyanyasa wa Kenya and you just put a tick on it. Because we've seen what some of the presidential advisors have even tweeted, written on social media and so on, in regards to some of the things that Kenyans have, voiced. And you see the kind of responses that we get, and you wonder, were those guys high in that room when they were deciding what they were deciding? Yeah? And without getting into specifics, there are some things Kenyans just don't agree with.
Totally.
For example, this whole SHA situation, the funding model for the universities and so on and so forth. When technocrats, like you call them, sit down and decide these things, do they think about Kenyans? Or they just think about, we have been given a contract, we need to finish this job?
Wow. I want to answer it in two ways. One, as a technocrat who's looking at my country. One of the biggest challenges we're having in this country is we are not patriotic. Let's say it as it is. We've become more of, it's not even capitalism, it is cannibalism.
Yes.
Yeah?
Call it as it is.
Yes, it is cannibalism. Yangu iko wapi. Now, as a patriot, when I'm called upon to look at some of these things, let's look, for example, the thinking, the reasoning behind taking VAT, the fuel VAT from 8% to 16%. We all know as experts, if you increase the VAT on fuel, automatically fuel
prices will skyrocket.
Everything from the bread you eat, and that's why I said there are 9 ways of killing a cat. I will not put VAT on the bread. I'll simply put VAT on fuel. That bread has to come to the nearest shop. It has to be transported. So which means that transport cost is transferred to the last consumer, the end consumer. So definitely the price of bread will go up. So as a technocrat, when I sit, I know all these facts. As we are formulating some of these things, we are doing them for the good of the people. Because at the end of the day, it will affect me. At the end of the day, let's call it as it is. But then again, we have our masters. You do not bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
You see, now, that is the other thing you have to take into consideration.
Right.
When the boss up there says, this is what I want, or the governor says, this is my manifesto, this is what I want, do you really, now, you look at where is my bread buttered?
Yeah.
Okay. So do
you agree? Do you agree that NHIF was working perfectly well before this whole? Not perfectly well, but was NHIF working?
It was. I'm a beneficiary of that. My mother was diagnosed with cancer, and cancer is such a disastrous
illness,
and how NHIF came through for us during that period was, I looked at it and I would say, this is God's hand.
You and me both. My mom also, cancer, she was cured of it.
Yes.
Now, why would someone decide, or some people, I don't know, decide to change that for 55 million Kenyans? This thing was working vizuri sana. Haikuanga na drama. Yes, walisema kulikuwa na cartels. Yes, walisema kulikuanga na wizi, corruption and all that.
Yes.
So is it easier to change a law or to change a model as opposed to just getting rid of these cartels, getting rid of this corruption?
It is easier to, we normally say we have to sort of like reinventing the wheel. we have so many things in this country that are working. They just need someone who is patriotic. And I'll go back to patriotism. For example, NHIF. NHIF was working. It just needed a few things to be touched here and there, and it would be say 90%. But it was working.
University funding model. Kulikuanga na hii kitu inaitwa Higher Education Loans Board. I hope it's still there. You know, in this country you wake up and then things are not there anymore. Inangolewa. Help was working.
Exactly.
I'm a beneficiary of Higher Education Loans Board.
Well, beneficiaries.
And there's no one point I complained about that system.
Yes.
Why, in the name of Nebuchadnezzar, should anyone decide that, you know what, let's introduce something more confusing? Help me understand.
It goes back to manifestos. When we get to an electioneering year, there's so many manifestos that come in. The aspirants, everyone has their own thinking. It could be the right time for it. It could be, it is not the right time for it. So everyone comes with their manifesto. You know, as the president, I'll come, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. You know, it is your thinking. Have you tested if it will work? Let's go back. And I've had this narrative where people are saying, in Kenya, we've only had one president. His Excellency, the late Mwai Kibaki. Why was he effective? He might not have been efficient per se in terms of even eliminating corruption, but he was effective.
He was the best performing.
People are still saying we have only had one president.
All right.
Because you can imagine he came in, he understood what was ailing our country. You know, he's been the father of fighting for all this democracy space and what have you. So when he got the opportunity, he went down to work. Look at when he came in, that's when we had the Vision 2030. That vision got lost
somewhere.
We don't even know if it is working or not.
It is working, yeah.
That was a pillar. You know, he understood, he could see this country needed guidelines for us to get to 2030. That was, you know, if we break it down to a layman's language, the Vision 2030 was going to be like a guide, a Bible for governments to come after him on what to do. You know, he didn't come with the Kibaki manifesto. He came up with a plan, the 2030 plan. He knew this would work. Now, any other president coming in, you were just to pick it, modify it,
copy-paste basically,
and go with it. You see, things like the expressway, they were all formulated within the Vision 2030. But then the Vision 2030 was not changing anything. In fact, it was just improving on what was there. So now when you see some of these things happening, you know, I would say these are political ambitions. And until...
No, you've really put it, by the way.
Well, I would like you to tell us about the economical impact and the financial impact of these people coming with different manifestos and finding projects that were already ongoing, and then somebody decides that this project, I'm not willing to continue with it. I want to start my own projects.
Had we stuck with the blueprint, the Vision 2030, you would have come in. Kibaki had done the bypasses, for example.
Right.
So you'll come. It clearly outlined we needed a bypass, the southern, the eastern bypass. We needed all of them. So he had done his section. When you come in, pick up from where he left. Do your section. When your term ends, let the other person come in.
Do their thing.
Yes. So what happens is that ambition. I want to be seen. I have done this. And this trickles down to even counties. And that's why you've had this narrative of pending bills. A governor will come in, look at, I'm supposed to pay all these suppliers. And then the first question is, how are suppliers who walikuwa na finance my opponent? No, I'm not going to pay you. Done. I'm starting afresh.
Okay.
So that is the syndrome that we're facing. You do not want to continue where, you know, it's like a relay. I give you the baton.
Yes, I pass it to someone else.
I pass it to someone else. We don't want that. We just want to run 100 meters race, 100 meters. Nipige 100 meters yangu, mi niende. Uyo mwingine akuje apige yake. No, that's, you know, government is in finance we call it a going concern. A government will continue to go. Look at where we've come from 1960 independence, after independence. You know that government has kept on going.
Yes.
Debts of government will still be there. From our founding father, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. We carry debts to the Moi era, we carry debts to Kibaki era, to Uhuru era, now President Ruto's era. It is a relay. Let's not forget that. So there's no government that says ours is 10 years, this is what we'll do 10 years, after we are done, tusonge, the next one wakuje nao anze yao. It can't happen like that.
It won't happen.
It won't happen. So when we look at it from that point of view and saying, what has my predecessor done? Now I am here. How can I improve what he did and make it even better? That would have been, the essence of governance. That's it. It's as simple as that. So these political ambitions, unfortunately, we've politicized everything in this country. Then we lose it, because I will come in, and unfortunately I will come in with my advisors, the Andrews, who want to cannibalize. We are going to advise you on policies that cannibalize the nation. And that is the unfortunate bit.
So before we get out of that, you had said, you had pointed out the problems that we have in relation to public participation.
Yes.
And how these budgets are being passed, and then we do not have a say.
Yes.
We have seen the Gen Zs going to the streets.
Yes.
And then we are here back again to where the problem was started.
Yeah.
So I want to know, which other option we have? Which other option do Kenyans have apart from now we have gone to the streets, but these people bado wanapita huku kando, anaenda anapitisha kwa hii side?
2027.
Yeah.
That is our option, 2027.
No, I want to, because, no, because why sometimes I'm saying even the ballot is not solving these problems. It's because even yule mwingine akitoka, tulisema the ballot is going to sort that, then people went to the ballot and voted. But then, kuna hizi problems bado zinabaki, especially the issues to do with the budgeting, the issues to do with taxation, and the issues to do with public participation. I'm looking for a way. What can Kenyans do?
Can Kenyans do?
Yes.
Unfortunately, we live in a fragmented society. I'll tell you the truth. The millennials, us, we're millennials, and the baby boomers, that generation was too fragmented in tribal lines. Or social class. We live in Runda. We are the high end. We live in Sokimau. There's that entitlement that we have. The Gen Z are in one way or another rewriting this. They don't have a leader. They don't look at them from a tribal, they're looking at what is our problem at hand. Our problem is we're jobless, all that. So what am I saying? We need to come to a realization as a nation, as the people. We indeed have a problem in this country. We do have a problem. Let's accept it. Whether you live in Runda, whether you live in Kibera, whether you live wherever you live, we do have a problem. Now, what is the problem? Can we look at, is it the governance aspect? Is it the accountability aspect, and what have you? And once we come up with that, then we can do one thing. Why can't we call for a referendum and review this constitution, review some of the things that are there? But unfortunately, look at the threshold of doing such a thing. It was placed to go. You'll be told, collect how many signatures for us to have this. They know you are already fragmented, so it can't work. So you get where I'm going? So it is, I don't know, it is probably the Gen Z are rewriting, like I said, they are rewriting it because for them, they're not looking at them as, I'm from this community, I'm from this social class, I'm a Gen Z. And when last year, when you look at the photos that were there, the videos that were there, all walks of Gen Zs, all classes of Gen Zs, whether you're living in Runda, whether you're living in Langata, you're living in Bahati, anywhere, they all came together. So as a nation, if we can do that and tell the people who we've placed in those offices, no, we want a change, this and this is what we want to change. You know, we were comfortable with NHIF and it was working. Why are you pushing us to this? If we can do that, then I think we can start solving some of these problems. But I know we cannot do that. Then let's go to the ballot. Now the ballot, like...
For God's sake, I want to tell you, I think the issue of who is in leadership, I think it's just a try and error.
I want to do this, guys. We're going to take a short break. We'll listen to the news. When we return, may have so many questions because I believe it is hapo mali tulikuwa tunapromisiwa vitu as far as finances and development are concerned. Why we were having the issues that we were having yesterday. And perhaps we shall have this more of these issues going forward. Remember, you can find us on X, Radio Gen KE. We'll be right back.
This is Radio Generation.
Radio.
It's 8 o'clock.
Radio Generation. The sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Utility firm Kenya Power has confirmed that a security guard station outside its Steamer Plaza headquarters in Ngara, Nairobi, was shot dead during Wednesday's protest. In a statement, Kenya Power says the tragedy occurred late in the afternoon. According to the firm, Red Wamale Wanyonyi, employee of Hatari Security, was on duty at the Koloblot Road entrance where the incident occurred. The guard was rushed to Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority has begun investigations into the claims of unlawful police conduct during this year's Gen Z-led protest. This follows reports of officers using live bullets and other forms of excessive force while dispersing demonstrators. In a statement issued on Wednesday, IPOA Chair Isaac Hassan said the authority had deployed officers across the country to monitor how police handled public order during the demonstrations. The authority cited numerous violations by police, including the use of live ammunition, tear gas, water cannons, whips and batons against protesters. At least 8 people were killed and more than 400 others were injured during the demos, according to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Former Prime Minister and ODM party leader Raila Odinga has reiterated his call for peaceful expression of civic rights. In a wake of protests in the country yesterday, Raila called on Kenyans to embrace national unity, reject violence and respect democratic processes. In addition to protest, the former Prime Minister lamented the ongoing politicking which he believes undermines national development and unity. The former PM was speaking at the funeral of Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro's father.
Mambo ya 2027 nakuja, lakini tuko 2025. Hatuwezi kufanya campaign kwa miaka 5 kila mara kwa mara. Tukifanya namna hiyo nchi hawezi kuendelea mbele. Mpaka tuwe wakati ambaye kuna amani. Kama uchaguzi imekwisha, tunarudi. Tunangoja mpaka tena uchaguzi mwingine ikuje. Alafu jitokeze, fanya kampeni vile inafanyika katika nchi zingine. Na kule Marekani watu wanangoja mpaka mwisho wa mwaka wa 3 ndio anaanza kutangaza mimi nitasimama.
The head of the CIA has said US strikes severely damaged Iran's nuclear facilities and set them back years. This diverges from a leaked intelligence report that angered President Donald Trump by downplaying the raid's impact. John Ratcliffe, the US spy agency's director, said key sites had been destroyed, though he stopped short of declaring that Iran's nuclear program had been eliminated outright. This comes a day after a leaked initial assessment from a Pentagon intelligence agency suggested core components of Iran's nuclear program remained intact after the US bombings.
The report said what it said, and it was fine. It was severe, they think, but they had no idea. They shouldn't have issued a report until they did.
Why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000 pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my
Of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed, that is very correct. My name is Mungala, Mbuvi, and this is the People's Breakfast. You're catching us in Nairobi on 88.8, Mombasa it's 90.7, but I insist, the easiest, fastest, an uninterrupted way to catch us is on rgk.co.ke. Currently, by the way, we are live on Radio Garden. So if you just log on to Radio Garden, you'll definitely find Radio Generation right there. You can also catch us on our YouTube channel. That is Radio Generation Kenya. Currently beaming there live as well. We are audio-visual, so you can see Andrew Kubo Lawasi in studio. He's a finance expert talking about basically where we get things wrong when it comes to financing in this country. Of course, Triciah Wayua, tuko naye hapa hivi. Have you heard what we've just been told? Have you heard? There's a time, Andrew, a leader in this country, actually our current president,
Yes.
When this was in 2017, I believe, when they were vying for re-election.
Yes.
With President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
And we were promised some things, and Kenyans were like, my friend, is this possible? We're told, for example, the one that has stood out, stadiums.
Yes.
Now we are seeing Morara Kebaso going around the country. Well, Triciah Metulia, he has actually retired from politics. we saw Morara Kebaso going around this country, showing us projects that we were promised that were never delivered. Is it because we do not have the money, or when we're being promised these things, the money was there, then suddenly the money wasn't there? Like when politicians come and give us some very some of these promises they give us, like, why on earth would you tell someone you're gonna construct up to even 10 stadiums, and you know for a fact it won't? Is it because people like you advise him wrongly, or you advise him rightly but they just choose to ignore your advice? Where is the disconnect there?
Politicians will always say what you want to hear. They'll always give you what you want to hear. But once you get into politics, I think you become rewired. You become a psychologist of some sort. So you can read the mood of the people and you can elicit certain emotions from them. And that's why some of these things are just hot air, if you ask me. 10 stadiums. Is it viable?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay. When you look at it from what is the order of priorities for this nation? 10 stadiums. Is it viable? It is not. There are so many other priorities in this country. Let's start with the healthcare and education. Those two are critical because they touch the common mwananchi. When you move from healthcare and education, you're going to food security. Kenya is we are always faced with droughts. We all know that. Have we been able to secure our food security? So you see, those are the priorities. But in one way or another, politicians have this way of just eliciting some of these things. And that's why you'll be told 10 stadiums. We are hosting, or we are co-hosting the African Cup of Nations. To bet, you've had Nyayo Stadium is not ready. Kasarani the other day was said it is not ready. This other stadium along Gong Road, we're hearing 80% or something. So 10 stadiums.
So whose fault is it? Because look, we know our president is a botanist, right? He's not an expert in finance.
Yes.
Fine, he sits with guys like you.
Yes.
He sits with people like David Ndii and the rest of the experts. So is it that they also, now we are realizing that perhaps they are not experts? Because if you tell me, I have hired you to tell me that we are able to create this audiovisual studio, and I come and I tell Kenyans 88.8 is going to have then in the middle of it, I realize, boss, we can't even afford a microphone. So is it that, because we know for a fact the president is not a financial expert.
True.
Him is a botanist. Mi akiniambia mambo ya mimea nitaingia box.
Yes.
But when we are told these other things, and then he comes, like for example, we were told by now tunafaa kwa tukinunua gas 300.
Yes.
Ile gas ya kupika githeri.
Yeah.
I bought gas the other day at I think 2100.
Yeah.
So is it because David Ndii lied to the president, or the president had wrong? Make me understand, please. Is it was a Skuria who's lying to the, like,
their political rhetorics?
Yes.
And that is what the president and all these other politicians do. You know, I ever had one politician say, I am paid to talk. You know, that is their work. And that's why you'll see someone will always say, I was misquoted. That is their work. They're paid to talk.
Right.
But now, you've asked a pertinent issue, question. The advisors. Unfortunately, even us, you know, when you get close to that power, so they always say power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts.
Absolutely.
So that is it. That is basically it. Someone who has, you know, a PhD, for example, and is tasked to advise the president or the governor.
Right.
And he's seated there. You know, that the feeling of power, you know, it clouds your judgment. Unfortunately, we've been there. You know, we've been with the governor, you know, as a CC, and you can see that there's that. I'm in the vicinity of power, so it will always cloud my judgment to the point that you cannot tell the king you're naked. So that is the scenario we find ourselves, unfortunately. Not that to say these advisors are not, they're brilliant minds. How is it possible?
But are they though? And the reason I'm saying this is because I don't even have half of their brain, yeah? In terms of even expertise.
Yes.
But kuna vitu zingine hata mimi mali nimeketi. Ninaona tu hapa manze, either mtu ameenjoy Orezo, ama Orezo hakusikia story. Because the president has been accused countless times of being a liar, to the point of even having a nickname. And I believe sometimes it might not necessarily be his fault. Fine, there's an aspect of, you know, that slippery tongue as a politician.
Yes.
But I feel sometimes it's either sabotage or we're living in a very bad dream. Because there's no way we can have this promise, it's not fulfilled. This other one, it's not. So out of 10 promises, 10 have not been fulfilled. Yes. We've had politicians who will give us 10 promises, 4 might be fulfilled. You know, 6 ikienda sana, unajua. And we have accepted that as Kenyans. But there's no way I'll promise you 10 and then 10
deliver 10.
Yeah, and then it happens every other time. So it's either the advisors are putting us in a very tricky situation, or there's that other aspect of so the question here is when people sit in a room with politicians, and I'm not just talking about the president, even the governors and everyone else. We have Dr. Alfred Mutua, the current Labour CS. He was the governor for Machakos County. Mheshimiwa alitupromise F1 stadium. Is it a stadium ama track? An F1 track. To date, bado barabara za Machakos ziko na shida. So and this is where now I'm asking, because when it boils down, we know Dr. Alfred Mutua is a communications expert.
True.
He is not a financial expert. No, he might understand an aspect or two of economics because of his position as a governor. But surely, how can you tell people utawajengea F1 track na barabara bado ziko na shida? So is there a disconnect between the advisors and the implementers? Or make me understand, make it make sense.
Like I said, the people who are charged with the responsibility of offering solid advice, and I repeat this, they are people of you cannot question their credibility in terms of experience. They have all that. But like I said, once you get closer to power, you lose your senses in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
And the cannibalism I was talking about, we're just cannibalizing the country. That's it. We are more, how do I put it? We are more of individualistic in everything we do. We think about self and not the country. And you being next to a governor, you being next to the president is your opportunity, is your gateway to become the next billionaire in this country.
Oh.
So when I'm there, and it is sad. I mean, you sit with these young people, fresh graduates, someone who's done a BCom in finance, is an expert in finance, procurement. They all want to get into government. Now ask them, why are you so propelled to work for the government? And tell you, hapo kuna deals.
Tender.
Tender. So you get that mentality. Mm-hmm. That is what is propelling most of the civil servants, most of these advisors, most of the people who are supposed to be patriotic and say, you know what, Mr. President, you know what, Mr. Governor or Lady Governor, this is not right. This is what we're supposed to do. And it boils down to integrity. In this country, have you ever had someone disagree with the government or the president or the governor and say, my personal conscience does not allow me to continue working, I therefore step aside? We've never had anyone step aside. Call a spade a spade. So it goes down to the moral fabric of this country. We do not have a moral fabric. Okay. It is torn. And that is why I will sit in a room with the governor or the president and we are discussing things. I will not call him out and say, you know what, Mr. President, this is not going to work. And he'll ask me, why do you say so? Because when you're dealing in finance, you need to use a lot of data.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I have to compare last year with the other year, all these. So when I tell you something will not work, I'm coming from a point of, I have all this data. That is where I'm saying it is not feasible, it cannot work. But unfortunately, when given that opportunity, do I speak up? I just think, you know what, I lose the entrapments that come with this position.
The government vehicle.
The government vehicle, the clearing of the road for me to pass.
Okay.
And that's why you can see very good people in terms of, I don't want to name names, but someone is very good. He was good at articulating the people's issues, but they're elected as governor.
Yeah.
And then what is
things
happening?
Just go south.
Take, for example, our capital city. What is happening? So much respect for His Excellency, Sakaja. But is he living to the expectations?
All right.
So we really need to, I don't know what happens in between there, but
well, before we get to the county fiscal discipline, financial discipline, kule county levels. We've had so many times the controller of the national budget coming out and telling us, the office of the president imetumia hii, sijui counties zimetumia hii. I've always been asking myself, so their work is just to come and inform us. What else can they do?
The beauty about this constitution, it set up some of these offices. Office of the Control of Budget. We never used to have that in the Moi era or the Kibaki era, if you can remember very well. Now, what was envisioned in setting up these offices was, first of all, to disseminate information to the public. And that's why this information is readily available when you go to the Office of the Control of Budget, the website and their publication, because they normally have quarterly publications of all the expenditures of this country. It is there. It is public. And that's why you can see people making noise. Why are we having State House being given, allocated more money for renovation? Back in the Moi era, we never knew what was happening. Now we know. But now, We also have the Office of the Auditor General. And we'll discuss how the circus that goes on in Senate when we go to the Public Accounts Committee, and you'll hear a governor bought, was it a laptop for 1 point something million? Then you wonder. Now, like I said, in this country we have laws, very good laws. We have very good institutions that have been established to ensure that people, the president, the electorate, everyone is put in check. But unfortunately, these were done as a formality. Why do I say that? We have the Public Finance Act, very clear. But we still have all these things happening. A laptop of 1 million. Sijui what? Casogenic wheelbarrows.
Exactly.
A renovation of State House worth billions. Then we go a step further and ask, who is the custodian of the Public Finance Management Act? One is the Office of the Auditor, Office of the Control of Budget. These things happen because that office, the role is to approve whatever has been budgeted and give a signature and say, yes, I agree. This is what you budgeted for, and therefore you can spend. They are also expected to advise. So we ask ourselves, is this office really effective?
So, so another question, to attach to that is most of the time we've had the counties also saying the control of national budget, the budget, telling us how wametumia and this is not healthy for the economy. And you're saying they are the custodian of the Finance Act. So now I usually ask myself, so what happens when you ask the MCS? They will tell you that this was approved. Sisi tulipeana appropriation and it was approved. So now I come to ask, who is responsible? Because kila time mtakuja mnatuambia kwamba walitumia pesa excess and it was not supposed to be so. So who is supposed to hold them accountable?
Let's dive into probably how the whole budget thing is done. The budget is done for the counties. And they approved. And when they approved, they are all sent to the Office of the Control of Budget. The Office of the Control of Budget is to ensure all budgets are in line with the Public Finance Management Act. And if it is not, it is their responsibility to report that and say, 1, 2, 3 is not happening. Can you go back and align your budget with the Public Finance Management Act? So is that happening? No. Why? This office, have you given it that power to say County X has not met the minimum threshold of at least 30% of their allocation for development? Have you given them that, that power to reject that particular county's budget and say, no, you're not going to spend until you have aligned to the Public Finance Management Act? Do they have that power? You've seen calls for the current controller of budget. People want her out. Why? So, is this office protected? These are pertinent questions that we need to start asking, because that's where it starts. Before you start spending, there has to be a budget. And the person who's responsible at interrogating this budget and ensure that it is in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act is the Office of the Control of Budget. So, are they doing their role? Are they really independent as envisioned in the Constitution? No, they still depend on the exchequer. So if you do not comply, then what happens is we'll deny you your budget. So so it is. I find it very absurd, and I've worked closely with that office. I have so many friends there. That question never seems to get answered, because once the budget process is done and it is approved, it goes to them. They are the ones who will tell you, here you've not complied, here you've not complied. Can you go back and do that? If that was happening, then we would not see a list of bottom 10 counties who have not allocated at least 30% of their budget for development. Why is it happening? And then now you've rightfully asked, this office is supposed to do this, but now they're coming to tell us, they have done this.
So we
something
So
goes.
you mean to tell me that there's an actual individual or office
Yes.
that once as a county tumeamua kutumia pesa hivi,
Yes.
wanakuja wanasema wewe ngoja kidogo before munini, kuna mahali mulisahau 30% amja allocate.
That is their work. It is there. That is what they're supposed to do, from the national government, from the state house budget, all the way to the county budget.
And this is before we even start spending them.
Yes. That is their work.
But then we go ahead and we still do it anyway.
Yes, and then we come and report and say...
And they come to report to us to tell us now the state house has used this, MCAs have used this. So I'm usually like confused.
Hold on.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask this question again because I am equally, and I'm sure there are like another 10 million Kenyans shocked right now.
Yes.
There's actually people who tell the governments of the counties,
and the
national government, that way ngoja mumesema mnataka kutumia 10 million but allocation yenye mko nayo ni 8, but they still go ahead and do it.
Yes.
And this happens before they even spend. Forget the auditing of after. We understand the whole auditing of after.
Yes.
Zile za okay, buni yone receipt yako, this is even before.
In this country, if you understood, there will be no expenditure without it being scrutinized by the Office of the Control of Budget, because they need to put you in line with what you've budgeted for.
Because
they need to put you in line with the Public Finance Management Act. That is, you say, and that's why I say they are custodians of that particular law. Some of these things should not be happening if that role is given the powers that it deserves. Because I'll tell you, many a times would make budgets at the county level, would take them to before you even take it to be uploaded in the IFMIS.
Yes.
The first person to give you a go-ahead
is the
controller. And the role is simply, where have you, it is a whole process. Do you have an act for the counties? You need to have the budget, you need to have, all those acts. They will go scrutinize, they have analysts there that is their work. They will analyze, are they in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act?
Yes.
Which section of the act are they not in line? You'll be written a letter clearly stating, this one you've not done, this one you've not done, this one you've not done. Therefore, we should not allow you to take your budget to the Treasury IFMIS department for it to be uploaded.
So unataka kuniambia, Andrew,
yes,
kuna mtu aliona wheelbarrow carcinogenic kwa control of budget kabla hizo wheelbarrow carcinogenic or rather anti-carcinogenic zinunuliwe. Kuna mtu aliona towel, I think was it Bungoma or Busia County. Kuna mtu aliona towel za 100,000, a single towel costing 100,000 before we even, as the public, got to know that they will be bought or have been bought. Then someone still went ahead and bought these things.
That's it. And that's why I'm telling you, we have institutions that are mandated to perform these. They are basically custodians of the Public Finance Management Act. That is their work. How a laptop of 1 million is bought? Don't you have it in your budget? Because it had to be spent from somewhere. It was definitely in the budget. So have you...
I don't know if you understand what you've just told us. The gravity of that issue. That someone actually saw a carcinogenic or anti-carcinogenic wheelbarrow na akaambia governor, hii kitu ni story. Hii ni story ya jaba. Wachana nayo.
Alitiki you are in compliance endelea.
Na governor ama county ikamsikize ikasema, hiyo ni story ya jaba. Sawa, but we still go ahead and do it. And that is how I understood it.
Unfortunately, because look at we always see small counties like say Lamu, Taita Taveta, name them. You will see MCAs are always flying all over Singapore, Malaysia,
Dubai.
And then you hear there's a directive by say government that we are not going to entertain foreign travel. Now, this foreign travel is also in that budget, and this budget goes to the Office of the Control of Budget. Now, any memo, any government memo or policy or whatever it is they want to do in terms of we want to say cut on our spending, it is done and it lands in the desk of the Office of the Control of Budget. Why does that happen? So that when people come and submit their request for expenditure, you first of all take out the memo and look and say, this memo says we have stopped any foreign travel, and here you're asking us to approve foreign travel, so this should not happen. Can you take back? We are not going to allow that. You get what I'm saying? So we have an institution that is a custodian of all budgets in this country.
But it is not happening.
Why is it not happening?
I like how the control of the budget comes and tells us things about the expenditures in this country. Like, this is what they have done. And then you're saying it's supposed to pass through her office.
Including
and she's the one who's supposed to question, why have you put this? And this is what the memo says about foreign trips.
Yes.
Why are you allocating 6% while development you're supposed to allocate 30%?
Yes.
And then they go ahead, they do it, and then she comes and reports to us.
Sasa tufanye hivyo wase. Traffic. Traffic, alafu turudi story, because me, I don't know if you're mad, but me, I'm mad. All right, so it is 30 minutes past 8 o'clock, and I'm looking at the Nairobi West Hospital. Inside Nairobi West, very clear traffic right there. Nairobi Expressway, the only place where you'll experience traffic is if you're heading towards Capital Center. So that means that you're joining from which road? This one is if you're joining from the Nairobi CBD. But after that, everything else is looking good. So watu wa Mlolongo, mnaenda town vizuri. Aya, wacha tuangalie Ngong Road. If you're on Ngong Road, you're probably asking yourself how you'll get to town. Apparently, there's no traffic also where you guys are. But now, Jogoo Road, the entire road actually from Factory Street, as you're trying to join, which other road is this one? Factory Street joining Jogoo Road, going through City Stadium. That road is bumper to bumper. And last but not least, Manyanja Road, as you're trying to join Jogoo Road, uko mko tu sawa sawa. What's happening on your end?
Well, Kariako pale pia naona hapo ndo kulikuwa na traffic kubwa, but kwa sasa hivi I'm seeing things have cleared up. The areas of Kiambu Road, naona I don't know kabla kuja kutokea huku Thika Road, I'm seeing there is traffic. Is it Thika Road ama around as you get to town? Hapo ndo naona kuna a bit of traffic. Then all the way to Mombasa, I'm seeing that lights Kengeleni kwa sasa vitu ziko poa. Ile traffic ilikuwa, I think so many people have already gotten to town.
It looks like Kengeleni is like the major
activities. Yes,
major
it is, because that is where all the roads are meeting. That is the Lights Junction, because Links Road joins there. That is the main Malindi highway joins there, and
it's actually called Lights Kengeleni.
Yes, si pale ndo kuna zile kengele za wakati wa
wait, inaitwa Lights Kengeleni ama kuna lights na kengele
na kuna lights na kuna kengele,
so hiyo ndio jina hiyo place. Umenielimisha sasa, nimejua. So yeah, that is the traffic update as of this particular minute. If there's anything you think we should know, please, why don't you hit us up and we shall definitely let the rest of the public know.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
All right, so Patricia and I are very angry here because we've just realized that it's not like these people make mistakes because they didn't know. They are actually warned. So it's not even about you being an expert or not. You are actually advised and you're told this is wrong, but you go ahead and still do it. Let's talk about maandamano for a minute, because yesterday we saw what happened. We saw what happened on 25th of June 2024, and for the last 1 year basically Kenya imekuwa ikiishi kwa katika hali ya taharuki. You know, we have this tension going around because people are complaining. We don't have money, we don't have the economy is just not performing. You know, things are just going haywire. Here we are in a situation whereby we are borrowing money every other day. I have been elimishwa ya kwamba the only kind of borrowing that the country should be doing right now is borrowing towards development. Is that true or false?
True. And it is a law because it is in the Public Finance Management Act. All these things were put there.
Yeah.
So there shall be no borrowing unless for development.
Okay.
So it is quite clear.
So currently we are borrowing to pay bills. Currently we are borrowing to pay madeni because we have a lot of debt.
Yes.
We are unable to collect money within our own population.
Yes.
So is it a governance issue? Or is it like we were told by the Kenya Kwanza government that when the Jubilee government left, walitoka wakaacha empty coffers? Illuminate that point, please.
Where do we start? Do you really think a government can be broke?
I don't know. Me, I can be broke, so I'm assuming the government can be broke.
If your government is broke, then the government makes money every single minute. That's the truth. The port there in Mombasa, we have so many containers that are being offloaded right now every minute, and they are paying. They are collecting revenue right, left, center. So at any one point, we cannot truly say the government is broke. Let's get that out of the way.
Okay.
Now, let's dive into some of these things. The issue of borrowing. You can remember at one time the Controller of Budget said the government imefuliza. If you can remember, there was that rhetoric.
Was last year, but when?
Sometime, I think last year, if I can
remember. Early last year. Yes.
What are we doing? We're not living within our means, unfortunately. Opulence is displayed every single day by our governors, His Excellency the President, the CSs. It is all about opulence. And I'm not saying they should work in a certain condition, but the opulence in which they do. I like private sector times because for every coin you're paid, you need to show the value you bring. So what value, we as citizens, we need to ask, what value is a CS bringing to us for them to be given the latest Land Cruiser? The former CS was there. Those cars are well maintained. Is it hard for you to just come in, assume office and use that vehicle? Because it is in top-notch condition. I believe so. That's something I've seen. The governor. Do you have to come and renovate the entire office and say, this seat, Andrew was sitting on it, I don't want, I need a new seat?
Maybe anafikiri merogo. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
That mentality is what is putting this nation there. Opulence. You are a public servant. And what does it mean to be a public servant? This opulence we're seeing, at some point I saw people going to the US and they chartered a whole plane. Really? Why can't you just get into KQ, promote our carrier, our national carrier, pay for those tickets, and that is revenue that you've put into our national carrier? But you're not doing that. Instead, you want to charter planes. At whose expense? At the taxpayers' expense.
They said it was a bit cheap.
Where?
Cheaper.
Where?
To charter that plane.
Where?
They said it was cheaper.
Don't we have KQ flying a direct flight to the US?
Tuko nayo to New
And
York.
then, so which one is cheaper? Let's call a spade a spade. The opulence. Have you ever asked yourself, this money that is being dished right, left, and center, in your own right mind, I say this with a lot of respect, how many people who are billionaires dish out money like the way we see our people do? Is it your money? These are some of the questions we need to start asking. So to answer your question is, the government is engaged in a lot of recurrent expenditure that is not for this country. It is not for the people. AU, chairmanship, campaign, all that. taxpayers' money. Why wouldn't we just say this money, let's put it in doing roadworks, or let's improve in Kenyatta Hospital,
or just feed children,
But instead, for us to Ghana to go out there and campaign for the AU chairmanship, or is it I can't even remember. I was so
AUC.
Yeah, that was what was making sense for us. That is not a national. We have so many problems. So, to answer you, when those budgets are being made, renovation, is it 700 and is it 800 and what million?
890 million.
890 million.
And yet there was another 4.8 billion the previous year.
That is absurd. That is absurd. State House from the beginning has been, it is an institution that, how do I look at it? Probably you buy a new bed. If you're honestly living there, probably you I'll buy beds. But do we need renovations worth billions? Yet we have education sector that is in a crisis.
Given
Health sector. Yes. So you see, where are your priorities? And I remember the former president of US, Biden, he once said, when he was a senator then, show me your budget and I will know your priorities.
Okay.
So let us look at Kenya's budget. Then we'll know our priorities. Mm-hmm. Why are we borrowing? You hear money was borrowed, it never entered in this country. Money was borrowed, it was meant to do, say, an extension of the SGR. It ended up paying salaries. The control of budget is there. So when that office says, this borrowing, we do not understand this, but again, I'll go back to the same question. You are charged with that responsibility of holding people accountable. You're supposed to hold people accountable to the PFMA. Why are you not doing this? And instead now you come and complain. So we live in a country where our priorities are upside down, unfortunately.
Are we able, the population that is in this country, and especially the population that is currently working, and the one that is in business, are we able to because we know there's an issue with revenue collection, even just locally. KRA is unable to meet the targets. But if, let's say, in an ideal situation, KRA is able to collect taxes from each and every single Kenyan who is in biashara or employment,
yes.
Are we able to finance our budgets without having to look to Eurobonds and without having to go to China, without having to go to the US and so on and so forth? Are we able? Are we?
Very much able. Do you know President Kibaki ran this country without borrowing? Are you aware of that? What did he do? He came and restructured how KRA worked and made it efficient in collection. Go check the records. Kibaki, this absurd borrowing, yes, he did. There's that little borrowing that he did, but he financed operations of this country from own revenue, taxes that we paid. Why was he able to do that? What is happening now is we're just looking for the low-hanging fruits as a government. And that is where you see they look, we have a shortfall. Rather than cut your expenditures, your opulence, these things I'm talking about, cut those ones first. And say, we don't need this. Let's stick to what is of essence, what is of importance to this country. Providing services. Let's provide services. And once you provide services, I believe people have no problem with paying taxes. Give us a good road and somewhere where the border guys can park and just prevent them from harsh weather, either rain or what. And tell those guys, every day you'll be paying 10 bob or 20 bob. Will they not pay?
They will pay.
Provide for them a toilet that is clean. Will they
I was actually telling Tricia sometime last weekend, and we did like a very rough mathematics, if I may call it.
Yes.
And we said, what if, I don't know how many boda riders are in Kenya right now, but let me just take a rough estimate, and I could be wrong on this. Let's say 1 million of them.
Yes.
If we just tell each one of them monthly, they just give us 10 bob. Imagine 10 bob at the end of the month is 10 million.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
10 million at the end of the year
Yes.
is actually 120 million.
Correct.
And this is just 10 bob.
Yes.
If we make it easy for them to, and this is monthly by the way, if we make it that they're able to perform very well on a daily basis, and they're able to give that gava 10 shillings every single day.
Yes.
In terms of taxes.
Yes.
I am just thinking that, and that is just from boda alone.
Yeah, boda.
If we look at mbogas as well,
the
hawkers, the cobblers, and everyone else, these people that we believe are huku chini kabisa.
Yes.
If we actually consolidated those taxes and we give this money to KRA,
yes,
then now KRA tells Gava. I believe that at the end of every fiscal year,
yes,
we would have so much money,
exactly, that
by the time tunafikiria hata kuongelesha China, India, and the countries that we will even ask ourselves why.
Exactly. And this narrative of changing these laws, now here I speak from a professional point of view, and I must say I'm working on a paper on I'm just trying to do a research on the impact of having this finance act changing those taxes every year. What is the impact in the long run? And I'll tell you, for example, we have what we call the OECD nations, those big nations. On average, when you look at, we measure tax to GDP. When you measure their tax to GDP, on average, theirs stands at 34%. France alone, their tax to GDP in one financial year is 46%. Kenya's, sisi tuko 14%. Below even Africa, because Africa's average is 16%. So Kenya's is 14%. What does that tell you? It tells you this issue of having the Finance Act every year we're changing VAT 16.8 is not helping us. What we need in this country, first and foremost, is a tax policy that will tell us for the next 10 years, corporate tax, you'll pay 25%. An institution like Radio Generation here will know we are going to pay taxes in this country at a rate of 25% for the next 10 years. They will be able to plan themselves.
Wait, you're actually saying that we do not need to have a finance act every year? Or rather, a finance bill, sorry.
Yes, that keeps on changing these rates. Let's, you know, for you to achieve something substantial, first of all, give it time.
Yeah.
Put a policy. Now, this is a tax policy where we say if it is payee, this will be the bands that people will pay for the next 10 years. Corporate tax, this is how much you'll pay for the next 10 years. VAT, it will be at, say, 15% for the next 10 years. You know, we have that 10 years. Now, the finance bill or the Finance Act will just come in to enforce and give KRA the power to collect by sealing all the loopholes that are there. But people, we know, you know, when you're employed, you know, maybe I'm getting so much, this will be my tax for the next 10 years. It is easier to plan.
Plan yourself, yes.
It is easier to plan.
Jenny, this is it's so I feel like then we are still locked in a colonial period time loop situation. Because the reason why we even had the Gen Z fighting, because we've not seen Gen Zs fight before, and it's not like that we've not had other generations that had feelings about this finance bill or finance act or whatever.
Yes.
But in your opinion, why do you think then last year the violence erupted the way it did? Is it because something changed in the finance bill? Or is it that tulikuanga mafala, we just didn't know about these things until last year?
So basically what happened last year is they overloaded that particular
bill.
Reason being, we are faced with what's it called? A debt that is honestly pressing this country. We are not so much concerned with hii pesa iliombwa ilienda wapi ama ilitufanyia nini. You know, that's another Pandora's box we're not opening.
Yeah.
So, kuna hii deni ambayo the government is struggling to pay. And for it to pay, it is looking at where are we getting the money. Hence, the 2024 finance finance bill that now wanted to bring in so many things at once to try and get as much from the citizens so that they can start paying this e-deni. I think that one is very simple.
Yeah.
So that is where they got it wrong.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, rather than having a finance bill that keeps changing all the time, even businesses are, why do you think some of the businesses are closing? Today I'm taxed at 25%, next year I'm taxed at 30%. So how am I going to...
You can't even plan.
You can't even plan. You remember that for the 2024, if you're earning 500,000 a month and above, all of a sudden ukaambiwa there will be another tax band that was introduced. I mean, it is chaotic. And I think that chaotic sort of situation and how these things were again done in terms of there was no transparency. Again, in public finance, one of the greatest things that any administration is expected to do is to be very transparent in how they do their things. Unfortunately, there has never been transparency in this whole situation. And that's why I'm telling you about the mandate of the Office of the Control of Budget.
Yes.
And you're asking me, is it this is how it's supposed?
Because I thought, actually, to be honest, I thought it's something that happens after.
No.
So after you guys have spent your money,
no.
you now take your budget.
It is before.
Unajua vile ukishamaliza mama yako amekutuma mkate ukanunua, sasa unaambia sasa nimenunua mkate ya 65 bob.
That office must append a signature for you to go to the central bank for you to
Thank you for educating me on that one. I was clueless.
Well, I have another question. Like you're saying, we've always heard the president saying that our economy is doing way better. Every now and then, anasema economy is doing way better. We've also heard him say the GDP is doing well for the country. But then now, when you go down, you listen to the common mwananchi, everybody is just crying. Everybody, they cannot afford simple meals. People are just, things are not working for them. Can you maybe paint a picture to us? We understand what is really happening.
The economy is not doing good. I'll tell you the truth. Let's face it. How do we judge an economy is doing good? The vibrancy that will be seen in businesses. We should be seeing a lot of startups coming up. We should be seeing big corporations doing well. But what is happening? The reverse is happening.
Yeah.
Startups are, shifting from Kenya and going. We've seen big companies, just saying, you know what, yes.
We can no longer work here.
We can no longer work here, or we are scaling down. It is happening. That is the economy. I was having a discussion with my barber, and he was telling me, previously, we used to have people who were shaved twice a week for the bald, like some of us. These people are no longer there. Someone who would shave twice a week, which means in a month, he's there for how many times?
4 times. No,
8 times.
8 times.
This person now is coming, in a month, he's only coming 2 times.
Right.
So, you get. Now, this narrative of saying the economy is doing well, and I mean no disrespect. Are you comparing it to Somalia? Where are you comparing it to?
But tuliambua unga imeteremka.
It is not about unga. It is not about unga. Those are political rhetorics, unfortunately. I might be the president and I have my milling factory. Si niwaambie punguzeni unga ifike 100 bob. Everyone will buy. At the end of the day, I'm making money. So you see, it is a matter of just political balancing here and there, here and there.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, when we say our economy is doing great, what measurement, or we are comparing it to what? That would be the question. What is it we are comparing? Are we comparing it to Somalia? Are we comparing? We have to put standards to ourselves. And when I said Africa, the tax to GDP is at 16%. Yet Kenya, we've never gotten to 16%. We're always at 13.5, 14.5. That is a good measure that will tell you if we are very good at collecting our taxes, we should surpass the 16%, which is the Africa average. Then that will be something to tell you, yes, indeed, this economy is doing great. But we are not. We've been at 14% for the longest, which means we're just doing the bare minimum. You know,
so because we've painted a picture of doom and gloom, eh?
Yeah.
So how then do we get out of this garbage pit that we are in? Because clearly something needs to happen, and as much as we have acknowledged the problem, now can we start finding solutions? Tufanyaje?
First and foremost is, as a nation, we need to start being patriotic. Let's start from there. Love your country, and if you love your country, there are certain things you'll be ashamed of doing. Let's put the country first. Once we do that, then we'll be starting to think about what needs to be done. You know, I've talked about, if only citizens could just sit down and say, we need a referendum and change some of these things. We need to change how this country is governed, because all these things we're experiencing are more related to governance. Our governance is not the best. Let's call it as it is. That is why we see the Gen Zs out there. If the governance was good, we wouldn't have these young men out there. They'd be busy doing something. But unfortunately, our governance is wrong. So as citizens, let's try and rethink that. I know we don't want to hear about 2027, because again, we'll be given 200, vote for me, 200. I think it's time as a nation, we just come to the realization. We are in this pit.
Yeah.
We need to come out of it.
Right.
And it starts with how this country is governed. It starts with how our resources are managed.
I know the people have said that, come 2027, we won't vote for A, B, C, D individuals. and that's fine. At the end of the day, kura yako siri yako, au sio?
Yes.
What can I do as a Kenyan today? Today. Forget what President William Ruto will do for me. Forget what Governor Sakaja will do for me.
Yes.
But what can I do today to, first of all, just improve the economy of me and my people, and perhaps even of my community?
Demand more from your government. And how do you do this? By taking part in the public participation. Don't let anyone just go there.
Yeah.
Have, as journalists, I know you have your association. Make it strong. Let it have a voice and say, we do not want this. As accountants, it is up to us. It is up to us as professionals to go and demand, knock at that door and say, no, we demand this. It is up to, say, the border riders to put themselves in a sort of a formal structure where they can go and petition the government and tell them, this is what we demand. You know, I'll give you a quick example of the Uber riders, all these
digital
taxis.
Yeah.
I was having a discussion with one of them, and he was telling me, you know what? It is cheap, yes. You'll move from here all the way to Kenyatta Hospital. How much will you pay? Say 300, 400. In that 300, the app owners take 25%. Then they'll tell you the government is taxing us at 30%. So even in this one, tutatoa 30% ya government. So that is 55% gone. The same government, kwa hiyo 300 umepewa 150 sishaenda. Kwa hiyo 150 umebaki nayo 16% VAT on fuel. Bado wamekuchukua. You are left with what? Almost 110 thereabout.
Yeah.
110 uko na loan. Bank rates nayo ziko huko. At the end of the day, what are you left?
And you've not even fed your family.
Na mwishowe bado utalipa another tax.
Exactly. So are these people have they grouped themselves in such a way that they can go and petition the government and tell them, look guys, this is what is happening to us as well. You get? Okay. So we need to demand that from the government.
Well, we only have 2 minutes remaining.
Actually,
and after this one question, I don't know how are you going to put it. The public-private partnerships. Do you think it's a solution to our economy?
So much. It is a viable option.
Yeah.
We have a law around public participation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no one knows about it. So it is not being put to proper use. But it is the way to go.
Wow.
It is the way to
go. So Wakenya wanapinga tu bila kujua.
Exactly. But it is the best thing, I'll tell you. So many developed countries have gone that way. Public-private partnership. it is something that we need to start rethinking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew, for coming through. You have enlightened me, and unfortunately, you've made me angrier. I feel like I should have just remained as ignorant as I was, because I cannot believe that kuna mtali ambua asinunue towels za 100,000 na bado akaenda akanunua. Na mimi nimesota. I'm still using the towel I bought 10 years ago. This is so wrong. Anyway, thank you so much for visiting Radio Generation. We shall definitely invite you back here, because I feel like this conversation has not yet ended. It has just started. And for you, dear listener, thank you so much for sticking around. When we do come back in the next couple of minutes, we shall definitely chambua much more of what Andrew has told us. And we shall be going through your feedback as well. So don't go too far right now, though. Winnie Maganga comes in with the news.
This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga. There is a need to simplify.
It's 9 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga. There is a need to simplify key public policies such as the Finance Act to make them easier for Kenyans to understand. This is according to public finance professional Andrew Kubo Mlawasi. Speaking on Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast Show, Mlawasi decried that public policies have so much jargon, making them harder for common mwananchi to understand.
Let's also agree, if we look at the behavioral science of anyone, I have my own bias. So as you expect me to interpret that document for you, I will interpret it with my own bias.
Yeah.
I am affiliated to a certain profession. I'm affiliated to a certain political party. So, I would translate it based on what I want to achieve. Our plea is very simple. Simplify this document. Simplify it to the point that Mama Mboga can just sit and read and say, nimeambiwa housing levy, for example, the issue of housing levy. Jargon put in there, sure.
President William Ruto has appealed to protesters across the country to uphold peace and act within the law, warning that destruction and violence threaten the very nation they claim to defend. Speaking in Kilifi County during the burial of Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro's father on Wednesday, Ruto acknowledged the right to protest but stressed that no cause should justify the destruction of property or disturbance of public order.
Hata wale wako na maoni tofauti, hata wakati wa maandamano, pia tuhakikishe ya kwamba maandamano yale yasiwe ya fujo, yasiwe ya kuharibu mali, yasiwe ya kuharibu amani katika taifa letu la Kenya, kwa sababu hatuna taifa lingine ambalo tutahamia mambo yakiharibika hapa. Sisi taifa letu la Kenya ndio hili, na ni nafasi yetu na ni wajibu wetu kuhakikisha ya kwamba tunalinda amani ya taifa letu la Kenya.
Plans to bury former Zambian President Edgar Lungu in South Africa were abruptly stopped after Pretoria Court issued a last-minute order halting the private ceremony. The announcement was made to mourners only after a funeral mass had been held, throwing the farewell event into uncertainty. The halted burial marks a dramatic turn in an ongoing dispute between Lungu's family and Zambian government, which has opposed the family's decision to bury him outside the country. The government had moved to Pretoria High Court with an urgent application to stop the planned interment, insisting Lungu should be given a state funeral in Zambia. Cristiano Ronaldo is close to agreeing a new contract with Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr, Saudi sources have told BBC Sport. The 40-year-old Portugal captain's deal was due to expire at the end of June, but sources indicate a 2-year extension is close to being finalized. Ronaldo posted on social media the chapter is over following the Riyadh club's final Saudi Pro League game of the season last month, leading to speculation he was set to leave. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generations, the people's breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The people's breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
I don't know if you're as angry as I am, because I've just discovered something, that I think we shouldn't have discovered. That our politicians and leaders are usually told what not to do before they do it, but they still go. You know, it's easier thinking that ujamaa juangi, kumbe anajuanga.
Me, the reason why I was asking him, because I've always been mad about the control of budget. Like, every now and then telling us pesa hii imetumika kufanya hivi, hii imetumika, sijui your MCS wanatumia pesa vibaya. So I've always been asking myself, why are you telling us and there's no action that you people are taking? And if it is your office that is charged with that responsibility, then aufai kuwa sasa unakuja kutuambia. Tell us maybe that umenyimwa the powers that you need to exercise whatever. And again, you've heard what he has said. Ukileta mchezo, the exchequer. You know, you depend on it, your budget. And by the way, we have seen so many times, if these people try to question, unasikia alinyimwa, walinyimwa budget, unaona pengine budget yao imekuja imepunguzwa. There are some other people will also call you out of office. Wanataka utolewe katika hiyo position.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Radio Generation. We are on 88.8 in Nairobi, rgk.co.ke, across all platforms on your internet. And by the way, we are on Radio Garden. So if you're a fan of Radio Garden, if you've downloaded the app, you can always get us on Radio Garden. We're definitely there. In Nairobi right now, it is exactly 6 minutes past 9 o'clock. So I hope wherever you're listening to us all over the world, you are getting enlightened by the conversations that we've been having here. My name is Mungala Mbuvi.
My name is Triciah Wayua. And of course, the hashtag, it is hashtag the people's breakfast. You go on X platform, you will find us there at Radio Generation. That is Radio Gen KE. You find us live and direct there. Get involved in whatever we are doing here. The conversations make sense. The conversations are real. The conversations will give out all the truth that you need to know.
Speaking of getting involved, there's one thing that our guest today, Andrew, has pointed out, and I think that Kenyans, perhaps we need now to start taking this thing more seriously than we had previously been taking it, and that is public participation. I'll be very honest, I have interacted with a lot of lawmakers, for example, MPs both in Nairobi and outside Nairobi, and I feel like, yes, I do get my feelings or my sentiments felt and heard, but I feel now I need to be more active in the way I present my issues to our leaders. I think now, in terms of public participation, I will be a more active citizen of this particular country, because there is absolutely no way, day in, day out, year in, year out, we can be in these situations whereby, for example, anti-carcinogenic wheelbarrows are bought, and I didn't know anything about it until after the fact that the controller of budget actually comes out and tells us about it.
Another question, something he mentioned, because I really feel like hata ukieka nani katika kile kiti, hata tukienda hiyo 2027, there are some things that need to be changed. Personally, I feel like because if let's say it's you, wewe umeenda umepata kura, you're now the president of the country, but then now you see where things are, umeona pali problems ziko, kama sheria imekufunga mikono. Kama sheria imekufunga mikono, you are not able to serve the people the way you want. And again, sometimes even sheria iko, but now the people that you have will only use the law when it is working for them.
True.
If it is not working for them, they will ignore that law. So it is also a responsibility for us as Kenyans also to try understand what does the law say. If we are talking on issues to do with the economy, if we are talking on issues to do with police brutality, you just get to understand exactly what does the law say about this.
And I feel like we should employ a preventative measure before we actually get to the streets.
Yeah.
So that we can nip it in the bud. This anger that we're having and these issues that we're having and the misunderstanding that might or might not exist, because clearly there is a problem. We can actually start dealing with those particular issues way in advance. So the first and foremost, the number one thing we need to do is involve ourselves before we get to a point whereby things are boiling over. If you're going to put milk into a sufuria and then you light a fire under that sufuria, you will need to stand there until that milk boils so that it doesn't boil over. Is that not right?
That's right.
So that's what I think going forward now we need to start doing. Because we've already put milk into our sufurias. Tumeshawasha moto.
Yes.
Tusingoje maziwa yamwagike. Itabidi tumesimama pale ndio salia yanaenda kumwagika tuyafanye nini? Tuyatoe. Yes? Kwa Kikamba tunasemanga kutengoa. So please, going forward, guys, before we decide to go to the streets, because of course it is our right for sure, but before we decide, let us decide hii ingine ya kwanza. You know? And I want to give a big shout out to people like Rose Njeri. That lady who came up with a brilliant idea to ensure that but they do know that people who did not understand public participation vizuri. I just pray that someone somewhere recognizes the talent that she has and takes that talent and puts it to good use for the goodness of this particular country, so that if we are able to have more Kenyans participate publicly, online, wherever where these Kenyans can be found, where they are able to read and understand this thing, whether it's the finance bill or any other bill for that matter, anything that needs our input, tafadhali, let's take these talents and put them to good
and
use.
you know, these civil societies, most of the time people have ignored them. We have ignored the human rights defenders most of the time. And do you know, these are some of the people who really push, who really come and educate the common mwananchi about most of these laws that are affecting them.
The civic education.
That? Yeah, they're most of the time they're the ones who will come and help you understand and help you interpret a certain law that is affecting you, maybe positively, negatively, or a certain law that you have not been able to use it how it's supposed to be used.
True.
You get?
Yeah,
for it to work for you. So I think let us just appreciate the work these people do. Yeah, and also whatever we saw the Gen Z starting. Do you remember sometimes last year before the Mandamano started, before now the whole issue of the 2025 budget, bill, finance bill. Do you remember before then what these people were able to show us has been happening? Like, this has been happening in your counties. You people, you are not aware.
Yeah.
This has been happening in your country. You people, you are not aware.
You're clueless.
Like, they were able to dig deep. They were able to dig deep into the finances of the counties. Tunakuja tunaambiwa kuna gavana mahali ananunua inaitwa PS system. Ananunua sijui na milioni ngapi.
Ndio.
Yeah, for the county. Now, then you realize even on the ground hata haiko. On the ground mkiwa na event unaona mnaenda kutafuta ku rent.
Yes.
And whatever is there actually ni kitu unajua hii hata ipiti 100,000. These are the things that unaona when people get that responsibility. Let's put our education into work. Like umeenda shule, umesoma. You know your mother is not able to interpret some of these things, like what we have had here, like watu walikataa, mlienda kwa street, mmezunguka.
Yeah.
Mwishowe waliona okay, sini hapa ndo panaleta shida, it's okay, let us remove this here, let us put it
somewhere else. There's something I've just asked him when we came back from a traffic update, I believe, and I asked him, so Rex Masai died for nothing, and of course we are using Rex as a reference. We know there are 60 others who lost their lives, over 60 actually, and others have lost their lives yesterday. I want to ask the leadership, you know, aren't you tired of engaging, youths all the time and talking about the same thing over and over?
Nobody is tired of power. Nobody will get tired of money.
I'm not asking them to get tired of power.
I'm saying nobody will get tired of
I'm not asking them also to get tired of
money. Yeah,
I'm just asking, look, me, I want them to earn as much money as they can, because even I want to earn as much money as I can, right? But what I'm asking them is, in your quest to make this money, because let's be honest, there are leaders in this country who are proper billionaires, right? Like, they have so much money that if they stopped working today, if they stopped looting today, they will still have more money than me 100 years from today. If they were to spend 1 million shillings daily, they will 100 years from today, they'll still have that they'll still have as much money as they want. You understand? At what point is enough? Right? And I know, fine, hata mimi nikianza kulipwa mshahara ya 3 million leo, maybe after 2 years nataka ya 6 million.
Bado unataka uongezwe na uongezwe na uongezwe.
But I think that money and that kind of power should come with the responsibility that comes with the position.
And right? I'm going to amplify your question.
Yes. So,
how much is enough? Our leaders there who are listening to us. How much is enough?
So I'm not telling our politicians, because we know they love money. That's why they asked for
Everybody loves money. I also love money.
That's why they asked for those positions.
Yes.
Ni sawa. Kuleni pesa wase. By the way, kuleni shibeni. Lakini bana, msikule kila kitu, mtuache hivyo.
Someone was telling me, afadhali mtu akule hata kula hata 30 na ufanye kazi na 70. Well, we are not encouraging people to eat our money. We are not encouraging that. But we are just saying, we are just saying, like, Kenyans have reached at a point when they are like, okay, ni sawa, you people just have mercy on us. And even if you're eating, afadhali basi tufanyie hata kazi ya 70. Basi ama tufanyie ya 50.
And I'm also angry with the leaders that ignore and make it look like it was nothing when people like Rex lost their lives. When people like Abdikadir lost, his life, when even the people that lost their lives yesterday, they make it seem like it was nothing. Me, I want them to even start acknowledging. Wase jana man kulikuwa kubaya. When you fight with your children or you fight with your wife, you might still remain. Bado unaweza kuwa na pembe, but at some point you acknowledge and like, okay babe, najua nilikuumiza, lakini pia wewe siku nyingine usifanye nini, usikuje vile ulikuja. Let us start acknowledging that there's a problem. Let us start acknowledging. And that's why I told you it's going to be very difficult for a government to apologize if they do not acknowledge that it happened. If they do not acknowledge that Rex Masai was shot by a government-issued weapon. If they do not acknowledge that Albert Ojwang died under these particular circumstances that we know that he died of, and every other person that I cannot remember their name right now died under the circumstances that we know that they did, then we will we are unable to we will be unable to move forward. So let the political elite start acknowledging. Tuache kusikia waheshimiwa kwa parliament kama KJ akisema vitu zilikuanga photoshopped, and we will never forget those things, by the way. They might think that we have forgotten, but we will never forget until they acknowledge. Then now the healing process can begin, so that we can tuambiane pole. Yeah, because we know we make mistakes. No one is holy. Hata mimi ni mbaya kivyangu. I'm sure kuna watu kiuliza utakwambia Mungala Mbuvi kidogo. But the moment you start acknowledging, then the healing process begins.
And that is why, as we started the show, we said in our quote, the quote that we had for the day, we said, a nation's strength is not in its silence after chaos, but in the honest conversations that follow.
So how then do we have an honest conversation?
It's basically what we are doing. It's basically what you are requesting the leaders to do. That is, those are the things that are going to bring a solution to whatever has happened, because this chaos did not just happen. They happened because there's something. There are some grievances that the people have. And the conversations here will not be conversations of don't go back to the streets, will be conversations that are geared towards bringing a solution on the table. Yes, you people, this is what we are calling out you guys to solve.
Yeah.
So now the guys, they will tell us, okay, now this is the reason why we are doing this. And then we are able to get to a point where we are in agreement. We are getting a solution that is not going to harm the more common mwananchi, and also is not going to harm the government. I think that is the conversation that we need, and that is what even the president. I know somehow this might get to him. Will get to him actually. What we need is just a conversation after this chaos. A conversation that is geared towards getting a solution. We do not want to see the young people back to the streets again. We do not want to see people getting killed. We do not want to see people mtu ameuliwa na a stray bullet. Yani, these things, we are just we do not want to see people's businesses being looted. We saw yesterday someone's shop, a supermarket.
Yeah.
People have gotten inside there. Wamebeba kila kitu. Niliona mpaka wengine wanakunywa soda kwa barabara. Ile wamechukua. Naona mtu amengangana na TV, ametoa kwa duka.
Supermarket.
Kwa supermarket ya mtu. And these things can be sorted through a conversation.
I saw someone holding a bullet yesterday on social media.
Yeah.
And they showed that bullet saying that it got to them in their house. I think it was in Mulolongo. Mtu amekaa kwa nyumba yake, ameshikilia na kuonesha ndio bullet yenye na kuonesha malilingilia kwa ceiling, kwa roof and this is someone who was not in any maandamano. Huyu jamaa maybe yeye alikuwa amesema, you know what, mimi history agency finance mimi okay, I might be suffering, but I don't want to go to the streets and then get shot. But a bullet found him in his house. Thankfully no one was hurt. There's this other situation whereby there was a security guard, Steamer Plaza. Huyu jamaa kwa maandamano, yeye alikuanga job, alikuwa mechill. Yeye hata kuanga na story na mtu yoyote, from the police to the goons to the peaceful protesters. Yeye alikuanga job. Na alikuwa anajua leo jioni atenda nyumbani. Sijui kama ako na bibi, sijui kama ako na watoto, but alikuwa anajua atenda nyumbani kwa wale watu ambao anawapenda na wale wanampenda. That person never made it back home. So what are we saying about the next maandamano, for instance? God forbid we need to go to the streets again, or Kenyans need to go to the streets again, and you have no business in the streets, and then a bullet finds you, like it found those two individuals that we've just spoken about. It is time we learn from where we are, and it is time we start having honest conversations. Let us meet somewhere, because it cannot be rusha nikurushie ama sema niseme, ukinitukana na mimi natafuta matusi mengine zaidi ya yale umenipatia. Hapana, lazima tu mtu a calm down. We know the president wants to have a second term and we wish him all the best, but he needs to come and talk to the people that he intends to rule for a second term. We know Kalonzo wants to be the president of this country. We also need an honest conversation from him. We know Rigathi Gachagua, former deputy president of this country, wants to rule this country, and we wish him all the best. It is time for him not only to continue bashing the government, because he's been bashing it and he's been doing a good job at it, but I think it's time for him to also just calm down and have an honest conversations with Kenyans and tell us, yeye sasa minus President William Ruto, yeye ni nini atatufanyia, ama ana intend kutufanyia, ama venye alikuanga pale ni nini alifanya akiwa wakati wake kama naibu wa rais. You understand? Those are the honest conversations that we are asking about.
Kenyans themselves, you need to have honest conversations, first of all with yourself, and again now with your neighbors, with the people around you.
Do you think Kenyans want to do that with themselves?
Let me say, first of all, you know why I'm saying so. If it is me, I know very well, mimi kazi yangu nataka kwenda kuloot. First of all, have an honest conversation with yourself. Why are you going there? Okay, why are you doing this to a neighbor? Like, for example, I'm your neighbor. Nimefungua kaduka kangu kidogo, nimeweka mkate pale, nimeweka soda. Why would you want to come and cause a loss to me? You get? I mean,
mwizi ni mwizi.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying just everybody has a responsibility. First of all, start with yourself, then now extend this to the people around you. You know, yesterday I was really surprised. Did you see the crowd that was coming all the way from through Thika Road?
Yes, I did.
Did you see that crowd?
I did.
Did you see how many people there were?
Thousands.
Look at the crowd that was in town.
Thousands.
How many people were there?
Thousands.
Look at other towns. We saw a Mandamano in Mombasa.
Murang'a, yes.
We saw Murang'a. We have seen Meru. We saw Kisii. Tumeona kila mahali. How many people are those?
The honest conversation I want Kenyans to have with themselves is this one. Yes, fine. There's the moral one where mwaka unataka kwa mwizi. Alafu jijibu kutoka hapo. But the main conversation I'd like Kenyans to have with themselves is the conversation surrounding our politics and why we never think beyond our noses. Mimi najua kuna mtu atakasirika na hiyo statement, but acha nikwambie ukweli. Why every time when you go to the ballot, because I know you go to the ballot. Yeah? When you're going to the ballot, what determines the reason why you're voting for person A, why you're voting for person B, C, D, and E? Wanakuanga 6 positions. What determines, what makes you choose your MCA, for instance? Are you choosing your MCA because he's your buddy? Are you choosing your MCA because he gave you some random 50 shillings? Or are you choosing your MCA because you know there's a tender coming out of that particular election? MP the same, Senate the same, woman rep the same, governor the same, and president the same. Me, I'd like us to start thinking differently, guys. And it will not happen if we do not have that honest conversation, and especially the tribal one. Don't vote someone because they come from your tribe. And then it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Kuna mtu atakasirika niambie mimi ni mtu sijui kinye nasema. And especially the old people, you know, our parents going upwards. Watu kidogo wanakuanga na shida because there's this perception towards a certain community. We need to have that honest conversation, and we need to get out of tribalism, guys. We are in 2025, bwana. 2025. We still can't be talking about Triciah is from tribe A or Mbuvi from tribe A. We need to get out of that nonsense, guys. And it is nonsense because at the end of the day, if we are able to get a leader who's going to take us to Canaan, unakumbuka wakati Raila alikuwa anatuambia Canaan, we need to get to the promised land, guys, and we are the only thing stopping us from getting to the promised land. Ni sisi na ufala wetu, sisi na ujinga wetu, sisi na fikira zetu tumeshindwa kufika promised land kwa sababu tunafikiria now this tribe has been doing this so they don't know, guys. That is an honest conversation, even before we get to President Ruto, even before we get to Raila Amolo Odinga, before we get to Matiang'i and Kalonzo and everyone else. Yes, because until we have that one right, those people up there, they will always take advantage.
I don't know why I have started doubting the ballot.
Why
I do not understand why I have started doubting whoever we put in that place.
Yeah.
I do not understand because I feel like we get people.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, every time these people come to us asking for votes, most of the time, of course, utakaa unasema mimi huyu ndio naona yuko sawa. You know, wewe unaona tu huyu mtu yuko sawa. And pengine hiyo time wako sawa. Once they get there, I'm actually don't know what is happening. That is why I have started. Okay, well, I'll play my role.
Yes.
And of course, I request you outside there to play
your role
when it comes to voting in 2027. But then I know there is something zaidi tutahitajika kufanya kama wa Kenya.
Mimi nitakwambia kitu moja. You know, when you're heartbroken, for instance.
I think I am. Right now I am.
Let me tell you. When you are heartbroken by a lover, a partner, when that lover heartbreaks you, I'm sure this has happened to a lot of Kenyans. The first time you're heartbroken, you usually say, mimi story ya wanaume sitaki. Ama story ya wanawake sitaki. Why? Because yule mwanamume ulikuanga naye alikukosea sana. Right? Maybe alikuchapa. Na ukaanza kuona, mimi wanaume sitaki stories zao. Because kama nilichapa na yule mwingine, I don't want another one. But until you find that lover who takes care of you, who will love you without drama, without punishing you, without abusing you, without making you seek validation every single day, you will start advising people differently, and you'll tell them, look, I used to think like you, but now I'm better. I used to think I'll never find love, but now I'm better. I can assure you that one day, one time, you'll find the lover that is fit for you. And in Kenya, that is where we are right now. We are heartbroken for sure. Even Fanya Mambo Kinovia here told us, Kenyans, we are going through, a very painful divorce.
A divorce process, yes.
And it is okay because life is about ups and downs. And nothing will ever be perfect 100%. But we have standards. Just like you, I'm sure you have standards when you're looking for a partner. I have standards when I'm looking for a partner. And I can assure you, Wayua, we shall get the partner that Kenya needs. Let's do the traffic.
Were you okay with the former president? Like, were you satisfied with
President,
what he did?
President Uhuru?
Yes.
Yeah, can I answer that after the traffic?
During his tenure.
All right, good question.
Traffic.
So here is your situation. It's about 9:30 in the AM. Na sasa naweza kawambia without fear or favor that Nairobi has gone back to normalcy. However, traffic has not yet gone back to normalcy. Everything is oh wait, no, we have. I'm sorry, I spoke too soon. So now there's this road known as Outer Ring Road. Outer Ring Road is good up until the point whereby you want to join Jogoo Road and beyond. So if you're going to places like Isili and you want to use Outer Ring Road, muko sawa. But if you go back a little bit, kuna hapa hivi from Tumaini Estate Apartments, this is when you're going back to former Taj Mall, hapo kuko bumper to bumper mbaya sana, hata sita kudanganya. And also in the opposite direction, so both sides of the road looking very bad, inbound and outbound. If you go back to the main roads, this is Mombasa Road, Cabanas, bumper to bumper, but this one is expected. I don't know why, because this is when you're going towards Mulolongo. But if you're going the opposite way, a little bit of traffic there because of zile matatu zinasimama Cabanas, but after that, barabara inafunguka vizuri tena sana. So if you're coming from Kitengela, for instance, you guys muko tu sawa sawa, there's nothing to complain about. So after that, traffic inafunguka up until you get to maybe, where is this? Oh yes, as you're exiting the expressway at National Museums of Kenya, a little bit of snarl up there, but everything else after that is okay.
Majorly all the roads are quite okay, except just in few places. Mombasa also, all the roads are quite okay right now, except just hapo tu lights Kengelen kidogo tu, but most of the roads are quite okay.
All right, anything on the roads you think we should know, please let us find out through our social media pages. That is Radio Gen KE at on X rather. And by the way, I kept on telling you we have a WhatsApp. Please interact with us. The channel is known as Radio Generation.
On Radio Generation.
Haya, nimeulizwa swali hapa na ninafaa kujibu. What's my feeling of the previous government?
Yeah.
We still had anger with that government, and personally as a Kenyan, yes, I did have anger with that regime. However, it not as much as I have right now. Unfortunately, my memory is not that good. Hata mimi wanajuanga nyumbani. Mimi nikishasahau nimesahau. I forget easily and I forgive also quite as easily. So yes, this is what happened as far as that one is concerned. Economically, things were not that bad. But I feel like COVID-19 played a big role. And especially in the second term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. That is when a lot of companies, cut down on salaries. I was affected very badly. Being an entertainer in the MC business, that is as a master of ceremony, and as also, someone who hosts events. I do a lot of conferences and so on and so forth. Moderation of events as well. So business was really cut down there. And I wouldn't say that is the regime's prerogative or issue or responsibility. Events tu zilisha. Kwanza nakumbuka 2 days before a lockdown was set up, I had a wedding that I had to MC, and I remember the client just calling me na akanambia, first of all, hata hiyo harusi ni kama haoni itafanyika. So that one I'll blame it mostly largely on the virus. But before that, business for me was booming. Yes, and especially during the Kibaki era, for me business was really booming until things of course took a twist when the Jubilee government came in, and a lot of borrowing was also done at that particular point, taxes here and there, things that I did not necessarily agree with. Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I was 150% with them, but in terms, if I was to give them a percentage, I would say compared to the previous regime, I'd probably give them like a 70 there. Okay. For lack of a better word. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But with Kibaki's time?
Huko kulikuwa sawa.
Mambo yalikuwa pomani vile ulikuwa ujui mambo na
tulikuwa tunatoka
mambo na economy, ulikuwa uelewi mambo na economy.
Well, that is partly true, but when we talk about pesa mfukoni,
pesa ilikuwa mfukoni.
The economy had money circulating. Because don't forget, again, maybe I've been in events for the longest and entertainment for the longest.
But then you are still young.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, there are very many factors before you come out and say, oh, this person is bad, or this regime is bad, or this didn't work. Because there's someone you'd ask the same question, na atakwambia shimo nyingi za corruption zilifungwa, especially during Kibaki's time. Shimo nyingi za corruption zenye zilikuwa zimefunguka wakati wa the Nyayo regime zilifungwa. Yeah.
Zikakuja zikafunguka when?
Wacha tuongelee kwanza, umeuliza swali.
Okay.
Wacha nikujibu.
Okay.
So there's a, like for example, President Moi would visit areas and just dish out money. Wanafunzi wakipatikana pale kwa barabara wanapewa pocket money, you know. You'd go for events and you'd be paid very highly without even necessarily applying for a tender or without having to give invoices and receipts. But during Kibaki's era, and this one I'm actually speaking from experience, because I remember there was a time I was called to an event and I provided services to that event, and for the very first time in my entire life I was asked for an invoice, something I had never given before. You understand? So a lot of things changed during the Kibaki era that were not available during the Moi era. So what I would say in a nutshell is that every regime has come with its advantages to specific people and disadvantages to the same people, and advantages to another group and disadvantages to the same group. Not everyone is equal. Kuna mtu sasa anakuambia biashara imeshika mbaya, wewe ukisema umesota. Kuna mtu
anasema kuna pesa.
Kuna mtu kwanza hata akisikia mnaandamana anaweza anakuangalia na shangaa, you mad.
Actually there's somewhere who said
yes,
sema huna pesa. Wacha kusema hatuna pesa.
Kweli.
Wacha kutumia ngeli ya wengi.
Yes.
Sema tu mimi kama Triciah.
Yes.
Sina pesa.
Yeah. Because there's someone who is, let me say, in bed with every government.
Yes.
And if you get to meet that person who is in bed with that
with every other government,
then you mtanona pamoja. Unataka kuniambia watu wanafanya biashara saizi na Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga hawako sawa? Unataka kuniambia sasa watu wako in business na CS Oparanya hawako sawa?
Wako sawa.
Unataka kuniambia sasa mtu mwenye ako na in business na OPO and ayuko sawa?
Sasa wewe baki hapo ukisema kwamba kuna pesa.
Yes, let's call a spade a spade.
But mchanganuzi wetu amesema vizuri kwamba the economy is not good. It is not well. Yeah. And actually mimi na wewe tulifanya hapa statistics the other day and we just realized that watu ambao wanapata zaidi ya 1,100. Unajua why I like using that example? It's because look at what 100,000 shillings will do in Kenya. Look at how many people we have who are earning less than even 30,000.
Yep.
Yesterday I was telling someone, don't be surprised that there's someone whose salary is only less than 10,000.
Yeah.
Na huyo mtu anaishi hapa Nairobi.
Ni kweli.
Na huyo mtu akona watoto. Na wanaishi hii Nairobi.
Right.
Dona, and it is a very big population.
Yes.
Yenye inaishi at that level. Again, yesterday after I came from work, kuna mama mboga mahali naenda nakatiwa mboga na nanunua. Then now there came some guys walikuwa natoka kufanya mjengo.
Right.
And it was a team of so many of them. Alafu I was just seated there watching. Do you know, unaona mtu ametoka kwa mjengo and the only food they can afford, ananunua githeri ya 30 shillings.
Right.
Kikombe moja, and you can see this person needs more. It's not kikombe kimoja kiwezi kumtosha, depending on the kind of work. Unamwona ni mtu anaenda kutumia
nguvu zake,
but they can only afford what, and they haikuwa mtu mmoja. Unaangalia what they are buying, unaangalia ananunua sukuma ya 10 na tomato moja.
Yeah.
Like, and you really feel for these people, and they are many, and then they represent a very big percentage of the population of the people living in Nairobi, and that is why we are saying that things are not just quite okay. Things are okay for a few people.
Yeah.
But the bigger population of Kenyans. Manze wanakaa katika maisha mengine.
Haven't you seen people being killed by matatu touts over 10 shillings?
Yeah.
Over 20 shillings. Si ati kwa sababu hakuna mtu si ati kwa sababu 20 bob ni pesa kidogo. Ni kwa sababu huyu makanga already amepatiwa target na mwenye matatu. And this small to 10 bobs and the to 20 shillings, at the end of the day, if he accumulates that money, he might just be able to break even. So that even after mdosi amemlipa, he has extra, because mtoto wake anahitaji kitabu ya shule, my friend. So wewe ukiingia kwa matatu pale na umekataa kulipa 10 bob, you're literally telling this person mtoto wake hataenda shule. And we're not condoning that kind of violence, but I'm just saying that it has pushed Kenyans there. So the time nilipanda matatu na mtu na akafikiwa na makanga akaulizwa where's your money, do you know what this guy said? He doesn't have. And the makanga politely asked him, lakini bro, si ungeniambia tukiwa huko kwa stage, at least ningekubeba, si ati ningekata kukubeba, but ningejua huna pesa. And you know what this passenger asked him? Ulikuwa unataka nisiende home? You ask yourself what kind of answer that is. So basically this guy aliingia kwa matatu akijua hana pesa, na alikuwa anajua one way or another he has to get home. So if you're going to kill him, but he has to get home. Okay. It's very unfortunate that
it's so unfortunate, and I'm looking forward to that one day, wakati pesa itafikia kila mtu. We are not saying that all people will be equal, yeah? We are not saying that all people will be equal, yeah? But hata wakati wa Kibaki kuna watu pia bado walikuwa wanateseka, si ndio? Ama kuna watu pengine walikuwa they can't afford that life we feel everybody should afford.
Yeah.
But at least we are asking the government, well, push for policies that will bring money to mwananchi.
Yeah.
Push for policies that will improve the standards of living of most of these Kenyans.
The well-being.
So that now when we are saying that the economy is doing well, then we can be able to show, because one of the factors or one of the indicators of an economy that is doing well, it is now the standards of living of the people in that country.
Okay. Nimeona umefungua gazeti.
Well, gazeti naona leo most of the stories is all about yesterday's chaos.
Yes.
Whatever was happening yesterday, tunaona stories as a Communications Authority of Kenya, clamping down media houses, especially the TVs. Tunaona pia stories za vile watu waliuliwa. Tumeona stories za how goons looted businesses.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot. And tuliona pia what happened, how the house sitting was put on hold amidst the Gen Z scare. Mpaka unaona kitu ya kwanza waliekewa razor wire.
They cordoned themselves because
kwanza waliekewa hiyo, alafu wakaketi wakaona waa.
Yeah. Remember last year's maandamano walitandikwa viboko properly. Some of them were found even hiding in ambulances, being transported as though they were casualties of maandamano. Kumbe ni waheshimiwa walikuwa huko ndani. So they learned their lesson last year. And to be honest, I understand why they had to cordon off and put heavy police presence around parliament, because if we're being honest, again we said let's have honest conversations. Parliament last year was properly vandalized.
Well, ni sawa kulikuwa na, but we said it was business as usual.
No, it's not business as usual.
The spokesperson alisema kwamba it is business. Kenyans continue with business. Yes. And now yesterday I'm seeing that we only had 10 lawmakers. Out of 349, we only had 10 lawmakers in house present.
Hivyo ndivyo kulienda jana. Na bado ndio maana wanafaa kufanya nini? Kufikiria, kuzingatia on Kenyans and what Kenyans need, so that we do not have to barricade ever again. America also learned from that time that Trump lost the election to Biden. People attacked Capitol Hill, and it was they learned from that particular situation, whereby every time they were getting closer to that kind of violent altercation, they had to protect those very high security spaces. So again, something that happens all over the world. I wasn't even shocked when niliona hizo masengenge zimewekwa huko. I was just like, oh, okay. But niliona watu
niliona kuna picha. I do not know whether it is Photoshop or what.
Forget ya ule dem alikuwa anaruka.
Ule dem anaruka pale, that razor wire. Hey!
Yes.
Well, there's also something here, Mbuvi,
right,
about about early campaigns. Nimeona baba ameongea.
Ndio.
Baba amesema we can't be campaigning forever. Once elections are over, we should wait until the appropriate time to campaign.
Yeah, and we focus on development. Yeah. Yeah. Sasa lakini people are hard at work campaigning because there's someone who started campaigning long before. Yes. It's the government that started campaigning.
Yeah, the government is always campaigning. Yes.
Sasa itabidi akina Kalonzo pia wameanza ku campaign Rigiji. Kwanza Rigiji ni kama ameingia full swing campaign mpaka magari zimewekwa plasters and posters and everything. So they learned from the master and now they are continuing with the trend. And unfortunately they will do it until election day. So it is what it is.
When are these people supposed to work for us?
They are supposed to be working right now.
And why are these people using what is meant to be your right immediately katika hizi process za kufanya campaigns?
Yeah. Service delivery, of course, the first thing that we need to be getting, and unfortunately we are not getting that one, at least not to the full extent anyway.
We are getting them once they come to our region.
Sasa si ndio maana nakwambia mwenye alianza campaigns kitambo amefanya wale wengine wafanye nini? Pia wafanye hizo campaigns, and unfortunately kazi imesimama.
The learners are outdoing the master, right?
Yes. So now I want us to switch gears once again and talk about this lady who goes by the name of Faith Kipyegon. Tonight at exactly 8:15, Kenyans will get the chance to watch her attempt something groundbreaking. And let me just read this. Kenya's Kipyegon seeks history with 4-minute mile attempt. Yes, triple Olympic champion Faith Kipyegon of Kenya will attempt to make history by becoming the first woman to run a sub 4-minute mile on Thursday, which is today. But to do so, she must shave nearly 8 seconds off her world record. Now, already the world record holder in this non-Olympic distance equivalent to 1.6 kilometers, Kipyegon will nevertheless have to smash her own benchmark of 4 minutes and 7.64 seconds by gaining almost 2 seconds per 400 meters. No woman has ever attempted the feat, which was first achieved in 1954 by Roger Bannister in 3 minutes 59.4 seconds. Now, in what has gone down as one of track's running most momentous achievements. When Bannister ran a sub 4-minute mile 71 years ago, racing conditions were very different, and the Briton did it after a morning's work at a hospital during a meet on a cinder track in Oxford and wearing heavy spiked shoes. So what is Kipyegon going to attempt today? Number one, she's going to run for 1.6 kilometers in less than 4 minutes. Let's talk about what you can do in 4 minutes. 4 minutes, you can probably walk when you're just walking kawaida, maybe 100 meters.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Ini ukitembea tu mwendo aste una haraka, maybe you're just on your phone, you're going to the shop or you're going to the office, umeshuka matatu. 4 minutes you can probably walk 100 meters. You're not in a hurry. But Kipyegon, Faith, is going to attempt 1.6 kilometers. That is exactly 1 mile in less than 4 minutes. Do you think she's going to make it?
She can. Do you know why? Because she only needs to shave away only 7 seconds off from the world record.
Which is her own record.
Yes,
she needs to beat her own record.
Yes,
by 7 minutes.
Just 7 seconds. 7 seconds.
Let's count 7 seconds. 1, 2. Pole pole.
Unaenda pole pole sana.
Hata natumia ile clock iko pale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you know that's a long time? In 7 seconds you can exit this studio na uende pale kwa the master control room. In 7 seconds. Actually, I think you can cover probably twice the distance. 7 seconds ni nyingi.
Now for running 7 seconds kwa kukimbia ni kama kutoka hapa kufika wapi?
7 seconds kukimbia?
Yeah.
I don't know, it depends on how fast you are, of course, but for someone like nani, these people that do 100 meters, akina Usain Bolt does 100 meters in about 9, let's even say 10 seconds. That's 100 meters, okay? Now, for the sake of mathematics, every second he runs 10 meters. So in 7 seconds, he has run 70 meters. All right? That's a long distance, Bana. And this is the fastest man. I don't know. This is going to be a feat that we definitely will be keeping an eye on. Like I've told you guys, at exactly 8:15 today, you can watch this on YouTube. It's powered by Safaricom, so big shout out to Safaricom for that. And it's called Kenya for Faith. Man, this one I'll definitely be keeping an eye. So at exactly 8:15 tonight, guys, 8:15, all of us tafadhali tufungue YouTube tuweze kuona Faith Kipyegon akifanya the impossible. You remember who else did the impossible?
Yeah.
Who else did the impossible? It was none other than Eliud Kipchoge. You remember that time he did the and what did he say? No human is limited.
Limited, yes. No human is limited. It's something, by the way, that has really influenced a lot of so many people.
And it has opened doors for him. A lot of endorsements. But lately he's been going to marathons and falling short. But I think this is a tactic for him. Si ati anashindwa kukimbia. He's just taking things slow because he's waiting for specific marathons where he will shine. But
do you know sports is the only thing that you will never lie maybe about age? Do you know that?
But they lie all the time.
No, I'm not saying that he is lying anything. I'm just saying it is something that because your body will go with your age. You get?
Yeah.
So, like when you're running, your body, your age really matters.
It's
so
true.
As his age increases and progresses, it means that pia kuna vitu zingine kidogo atakuwa anapata challenges.
Of course,
and of course he has done his best. You see, he has done his best. He has recorded. He has done records. You get. Yes, he has broken records, and we appreciate him for that.
Sure.
You have seen in sports, you have seen the people like kina Cristiano Ronaldo for football. Umeona venye watu wamekuwa kimwambia bana huyu time yake imepita.
Ndio.
Time imepita.
But he's still out there and he's performing.
He's still performing, but now vile age
still performing. But I mean Ronaldo, but I think he mentioned somewhere, we shall be confirming this maybe later, but Ronaldo said that he's now ready to what is it called, to retire. But he said like he has like 2 more years before he retires, before he decides to retire, and he might go back to his home country of Portugal and call it a night.
I will tell you, if there's something that I used to fear, I used to try to participate, athletics. Hey, man. I used to try cross country, like najaribu, lakini I could tell no, this one not for me. There's a time, just last week but one, I went to Nandi County, and there, do you know, in any activity, in any event that these people are doing, mbio ni lazima, mbio ni kama ndio salamu tunaanza nayo. And I'm like, well, tumeenda pale, tumeambiwa, if you are between this age and this age, line yenu ndio hii. Watoto wa this age, line yenu ndio hii. Wazee wa this age, line yenu. Lakini I'm telling you, there are some grandmothers who run.
Oh yeah.
I saw grandmothers running.
Yes.
I could not believe it.
Juzi nimeenda kwa shule ya mtoto wangu. They were having a sports day and the parents were called to come and run. Hey, do I put that video online?
You joined, right?
Yeah. Kukimbia na nilikimbia. But sasa nilikimbia mbali. So, like you said, age catches up with you.
Mimi nilikimbia naye, acha nikompie. Tuliitwa tukaambiwa nao nyinyi watu wa hii age pia line yenu ni hii, and I really joined, and I'm like, let me try. Hata si kwenda 100 meters. I surrendered.
Mwili ilifika tu
tu, it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. Lakini by the time nafungua macho niangalie hivi, wamama wameshafika kwa line.
I know it's a laughing matter, we are laughing about it, but we need to take care better of our health and our bodies.
Sure, it
and
is.
I have taken a personal responsibility to ensure that I take care of myself. Changing diet, of course, is part of it. Then more activity. More activity. No more excuses. Hizi stories are excuse ati manze unajua mimi unajua napenda, hapana, tuachie wase.
It's important because even in that meeting where we were, that event, I remember a doctor there advising and telling many Kenyans, some of these diseases, some of these conditions that people are finding themselves in, zingine zinachangiwa na lack of fitness.
Yeah.
It's true. People are not fit.
It's true. Even something as simple as some ailments that we have in the leg, things like plantar fasciitis. Hiyo nili unasikianga uchungu kwa mguu yako, it's just because you don't walk enough or you wear the wrong kinds of shoes. The other issues such as just pain in your heel. Chances are you're not even sick per se. It's just inactivity. Yes.
Some other heart diseases. So like they said that it is an initiative that they are putting there.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I even saw the challenged, mentally challenged. I saw people were challenged, also competing, by the way. Na wengine wameenda mpaka competitions za majuu. So and I was like, okay, so these are things that people also need to look into. People are not running for money.
Yes.
People who are running, at least because they've made it like it's our culture. Let us run. You run for your health.
True.
You run for your fitness.
True.
So it is important. Even you outside there. Kuna watu by the kutoka kimbie mara yake ya mwisho shule. Hajawahi kukimbia. Manake pia like hajawahi kutoka hivi mbio anakimbia. Na pia hajajipata katika condition ya kukimbia. I'm telling you, kama hii time ya Gen Z, ungejipata tao ndugu yangu.
Mimi acha sikudanganya. I was actually looking at some of the highlights of that particular protest yesterday.
How people run.
And there is this part where I saw again, like we mentioned, there's a part where people were running after police officers. Mimi sina hiyo mbio.
Utainua tu mikono.
Kuna mali pengine tuliona makarao walikuwa wanagonga jamaa fulani hapo hivyo, then suddenly out of nowhere a huge crowd of waandamanaji katokezea tu and the cops had to take off. I was asking myself if I were that police officer, the last one. Moja mimi raia mngenipara tu. Mngenipara tu, munisalimie na life ingeendelea. Ama pia ikose.
Juu sasa
mungenitandika vizuri.
Nimekuwa tu nikiangalia. Okay, we are not enjoying anything. We are just tunajicheka the way now
there's even a cop. There's even a cop niliona amekuja na kiboko bana, ametandika raia fulani and that raia kumbe anajua kung fu or is it jujitsu or kwang budu, and the way that guy was throwing kicks in the air, I was like, what do you guys do on your free time? Where did you learn how to throw such a flying kick? If it were me, again, let me just speak on my own behalf. Ami hapo mngeningara.
Young girls.
Yes.
Unaona vile wasichana wanatoka mbio vile wanaruka fence.
Yes, back in our day we used to call it wanatoka pudhu. Unaona mtu ametoka pudhu.
Young girls.
Ametoka siaka.
Mbuvi. Tuingie kwa mazoezi. It is very important.
So if there is a gym listening to us right now, we are looking for gym membership.
Yeah.
Triciah and I are looking for gym membership. Yeah, please just let us know.
Immediately after show, sisi tunakuja
kwa gym.
Tunapiga mazoezi yetu.
What's your handle? Waambie handle yako ndio wakupate hapo, waku-DM.
Yeah, at Triciah Wayua. Yeah, on all social media pages at Triciah Wayua.
At Mungala Mbuvi. Find me there, please. I'm taking gym membership because we need to change. We need to have an honest conversation.
True.
We need to have an honest, and also Brian Odor.
Huyo anataka mazoezi. Anataka mazoezi sana huyo.
Brian Odor is coming up in the next couple of minutes.
He's always dishing out chicken here.
Yes. In the morning.
Yeah.
On his show.
Yes.
Brian Odor is coming up in the next 3 minutes or so, and he's going to be giving you something amazing for your lunchtime. So if you're tuning to his show, you might just be one of the lucky listeners. And by the way, he's not demanding for much. He will let you know what you need to do for you to have this lunch of his. We're about to bounce. We're about to leave. We want to give a big shout out to our guest for today. That is Mr. Andrew Kubo. He came and he enlightened us. He left us a bit angry than we were before, because we've just discovered some things about this particular country that I don't think we should have. But now that we know, of course, things are going to change. We want also to say a big thank you to every single one of you who listened in and tuned in today for being there. And of course, helping us drive these conversations that are going to shape this country differently going forward. Let's not have these fights that we've been having, but let's have a better country. Any last words before we say kwaheri?
No, we just appreciate them.
Yeah.
Please take care of yourselves. Tupambaneni, tufanye kazi kwa bidii, tujenge nchi yetu.
Tomorrow is Friday.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So tupatane hapa bright and early at exactly 6 a.m. when the people's breakfast takes off. Until tomorrow.
Hasta luego.
Hasta la vista.
This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Utility firm Kenya Power has confirmed that a security guard station outside its...
It's 10 o'clock.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.